Call this meeting to order for the Oxford Preparatory Academy regular meeting of the Board of Directors, May 1st, 2018, 6 o'clock p.m. closed session, 7 o'clock p.m. open session. Meeting location, Oxford Preparatory Academy, Saddleback Valley Campus, 22882 Lumont Drive, Lake Forest, California, 92630, and teleconference location, Oxford Preparatory Academy, South Orange County Campus, 23000 Via Santa Maria, Mission Viejo, California, 92691. The public, including public attending the teleconference location, are invited to address the board regarding items listed on the agenda. Comments on an agenda item will be accepted during consideration of that item or prior to consideration of the item in the case of a closed session item. Please turn in comment cards to the board secretary prior to the item you wish to speak on. We'll start with preliminary call to order. Joseph Haney, present. Raymond Jackson, vice chair.
Present.
Priscilla Trichet, secretary.
Present.
Joshua Teeple, treasurer.
Present.
Mary Campos, member.
Present.
All right, can I get a volunteer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? No? No? Isabella is leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. All right. Oh, where's our flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Isabella. Next up, we have a student performance of the 5th and 8th grade choir, Cantiamo. Mr. Sachs.
So that way you're not.
We would.
My bald spot.
Okay.
All right. For my sake, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for asking us to come play tonight. Okay. As mentioned, this is our Cantiamo choir. Okay. Cantiamo stands for Let's Sing. I've been keeping a tradition of all of my college ensemble names for our ensembles here because we need names. So that works out well. This is our 4th through 8th grade honor choir. We meet Monday mornings at 7:30, which is early for a lot of us, but that's the time that we have. Okay. Today we're going to do 2 tunes for you. Our first tune is going to be Satin Doll. It's an old jazz standard. This group in particular, especially if you came to Jingle Jam, you will have remembered that this group was they're kind of our jazz singers, right? Each of our individual groups at the school, I like to focus on one genre or a time period, and we'll branch out from there, right? But this group has been very focused on, let's sing some jazz tunes. Okay? We spend so much time worrying about classical with the lowercase c, pop music, all these other genres, right? And we forget about jazz, which is extremely robust. So, here's Satin Doll. You ready? Is it on? Is one on? TV on? I'm sorry. Probably don't really need it. Good girls. Right? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and.
Which we see over her shoulder. She
called Passenger. It was written in 2011. Not an old tune, right? I was unfamiliar with this tune until last year. Okay? One of the things that we need to do as teachers especially, but as musicians, is constantly be learning, right? I have a deficiency in that I don't listen to pop music. Okay? I have a deficiency in that I'm old and I have no connection to what the younger kids are listening to, right? So they have to bring me tunes. This tune is fantastic. I really like the chord changes. Those of us that are savvy, right? The colors are all very nice. Okay? So here I wanted to exhibit not only some pop repertoire that we have, but also showing how much better the girls can sing than the people that wrote the tune. All right. Ready? Nice and loud, girls, because I cannot hear you over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, go!
Okay, who has the coffee and the energy pill? Me or you? Really? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs and the Cantiano Choir, for keeping jazz alive and keeping Mr. Sachs aware of music that has been released within the last 10 years.
That's funny, but yes.
Next item up is approval of agenda for regular board meeting for May 1st, 2018. Do I have any discussion on this item?
I do.
I would like to, if not, I'd like to make a motion. No, Kathleen had indicated she had, Ms. Doherty had indicated she had something she would like to discuss. Would you be willing to withdraw your motion?
So I think if I make a motion, then you can talk about it, right?
Typically, the board talks about it. I have to say something first, but we can do it the other way around if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Appreciated.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, we have two items on the agenda that I need to pull. Again, we're pulling the civility policy, and primarily this time because there were a number of significant changes that were made through the advisory councils, and we haven't had time to resubmit it to legal for verification that we can have those changes in our policy when we adopt it. So it will come back to our next meeting. And the enrollment and admissions policy has one more step to go now. We're pretty close, but I need to meet with our two admissions folks at each of the campuses so we can go through it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it addresses both campuses, and that will come back too.
I would also like to move that we take item 11, approve legal services agreement, and make it the first item that we address. Under item G, items for discussion, action.
I make a motion to approve as amended.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition. Public announcement of reason for closed session. Do we have any public comments on closed session items?
We do not.
We do not. So closed session for discussion and possible action. A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Government Code 54956.9B4. B, conference with legal counsel, ongoing litigation, Government Code 54956.9D1. Subpoint A, Oxford Preparatory Academy versus Edlighten Learning Solutions. Subpoint B, Oxford Preparatory Academy versus Chino Valley Unified School District. And item C, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Government Code 54956.9D2, 2 matters. We are going to close session at 6:19 p.m. Is back on. I'm calling it to order. I'm calling this back to order at 7:21 p.m. First item under open session is public report of action taken in closed session. And to report out, we have nothing to report. We suspended closed session and will return at the end of open session. First item up after that, presentations, reports, and correspondence. We'll start with site updates. First is Saddleback Valley. And we have Mr. Bridges. Sir Bridges.
So I had to write. Can you hear me? All right. So good morrow, my lords and my ladies. I hope thou eat most well. I am Sir Bridges, Dean of the Yopa Saddleback Kingdom. I cometh to you with an update from the Oxford Prep of the Saddleback Valley. In this video, you will witness, and then I'm going to go back into my regular voice, because there's a long list. So we are going to see the 3rd grade Living Museum, your 4th grade trip to Sacramento, the Cum Laude Awards, the Tustin Track Meet, the Rise Against Hunger event we had here last weekend, the Kinder and TK Circus, and we have a slide about the donation from the Pacific Life Foundation. So the reason that my face is painted is, one, it's fun, and I like to have fun, and two, we begin CASP testing tomorrow, 5th and 8th grade, and we are going to conquer the CASP. So to lighten the mood and to have a little fun, we decided to paint our faces. So we can move on to the video now. Okay, so upcoming in the 26-ish days that we have left, we have a beach cleanup on May 5th. We have Family Science Night May 11th, the May the 4th Be With You dance, and Spirit Day. Staff versus 8th grade softball game, go staff. The dunk tank on June 1st, so our professors will be sitting at a dunk tank, and those students that qualified to dunk a professor at the jogathon will get to do so. We invite board members to sit in the dunk tank and participate in the staff versus 8th grade softball game as well.
Oh, in the soup?
And we have 8th grade promotion coming up here pretty soon. I just want to do a quick update on our lottery that we just had. We had 712 applicants. We had 12 students placed. We had 2 TK students and 10 kinder students. The 2 TK students are twins. So we pulled a TK card. There was a sibling. They both got in. Mom actually showed up. She was super happy and excited, and so were the kids. The remaining students are placed on the wait list. Our intent to enroll forms came back today, and then students that we need to place will be placed accordingly once we go through all of those and figure out who's returning and who is not returning. And that is for me, so I bid thee farewell.
Thank you, Mr. Sir Bridges. And do we have somebody from the SOC campus? A crew. Ooh.
We travel in a group.
Oh.
Thank you for having us. I'm Nick Sessions, one of the deans.
I'm Mary Catherine Boucher, one of the other deans.
And I'm Michelle Schutz, the interim chancellor. We do have a request from our other site.
Pretty please, can you step forward to the microphone for our folks in YouTube Landia?
Okay. We do have a request from the other site that parents are asking Chase if we could get the video and some of the slides in the streaming. Right now, they just see all of you.
That's a problem because
I apologize.
All right, so we just made a quick slideshow for you guys if you want to direct your attention over there. We recently had our Staff Appreciation Week. It was Disney themed, and it was amazing. It was in honoring our OPA SOC staff. We had a Disney artist come and lead classrooms in drawing of various iconic Disney characters. So that was pretty awesome. And then our staff was spoiled the entire week, courtesy of our amazing Honor Society.
We had our book fair recently. We held it in our game room, which was a great spot for it. We raised over $12,000 for the book fair, and we earned a huge amount of Scholastic credit points. Our teachers also got spoiled with the book fair. They had wish lists that I'm pretty sure all of the books got bought from their wish list, which was awesome.
Our ASB students have really been mobilized doing our community service. Students spread awareness and ran a clothing drive for the organization Laura's House. We ended up having over 4 car full loads of clothing that were donated. We also did a blankets for bunnies donation. That's what that top right corner is. It's little bunnies hanging out with the blankets that we donated. And these are just some of the amazing things that our ASB students have been organizing on campus.
We also had one of my favorite events of the year, which is our kindergarten circus. It was put on by our AM and PM kindergartners. Our amazing teachers, parent volunteers were fantastic and this could not have taken place without them. So thank you to them. And if you guys haven't seen the kindergarten circus, please come by next year. It is probably one of the best events we have.
We are in the middle of our CASP testing, conquering the CASP. One of our students, Ava Larson, had the winning CASP contest entry, which is awesome. We have not done the face paint yet, so we haven't been knighted like Sir Bridges. But our testing lasts through May 18th. But kiddos are doing a great job.
We also had our open house, which was a huge success. It was very hands-on, lots of MI in the classrooms. There were different experiments taking place. In every classroom, Color Guard performed, and it was a great event for all of our families.
This past Friday, we had our lottery. 1,691 cards pulled for 651 applicants. I'm glad I didn't know the amount of cards that were in the drum at the beginning. Lottery went off without a hitch, and really hats off to our amazing front office staff and to Hadley Fukuda, our amazing office manager, for making that happen.
We've had some campus updates, which is pretty exciting. We have all new LED lights on the campus. We also have updated all the thermostats, and now they're controlled through Wi-Fi. We have like an app that we can go in and see what the temperature is in each room, which is pretty cool. This is all courtesy of our Prop 39 grant. We're also updating 6 HVAC systems mid-June, and it should be finished by July. And I wanted to say thanks to Christian Marquez for kind of spearheading that and helping a lot with that on campus.
We recently had a talent show put on by our ASB students. They ran the entire show, and it was a benefit show. So students could bring in, and families could bring in pasta sauce, and all the donations were given to Katarina's Club, a local organization that helps feed students in need in our local area. So we had over 30 acts do the talent show, and it was awesome.
yes, it was.
Also, Pacific Life Grant, it's on tonight's agenda to be approved. Thank you to the Bicer, Moreland, Ottoson, and Viscami families. Our OPS SOC community will benefit from this grant tremendously. It's $5,500, and we intend to use that towards more technology in our classroom. So thank you so much to Pacific Life.
We do have some upcoming events. I won't read the whole list for you there, but some big ones coming up. We do have a May the 4th Be With You golf tournament. That's taking place this Friday, a golf ball drop, which we're doing on campus this year, which will be pretty amazing. The helicopter will come Friday over our field. And, our 8th grade DC trip. We also are having 8th grade first staff softball game. So board members, if you would like to come participate in that, that would be awesome. And some other things going on. So we're excited for a strong end of the school year. And I think Michelle wanted to say a few things.
As you can tell, we're very busy, even though we're testing, and I have to compliment the entire staff with their focus on CAS.
Closer.
Still can't hear me? Okay. With our focus on CAS, but we are also starting some great events. And so we're going to invite board members to come on our campus and see what's going on. But we also want to tell you on Thursday we're sending a team to the reception as we get the award for a California Distinguished School. We have our interim executive director taking a team. Both of our deans will go. We have a board member going, teacher, and 2 parents. And so we'll make sure we take a lot of pictures and put them on our website. But we would love to have you visit our campus.
All right.
Thank you to the SOC Posse for their update. We'll move on to Advisory Council update. First up is Saddleback Valley. Looks like we have Mr. Trevis, or is it Sir Trevis? Paige.
I'm a dragon, so I don't know what you would call me. I don't know.
Your Magnificence.
Sure. I like it. I like it. All right. Good evening, board. I'm here to give an exciting update about our advisory council, some of the things that we've been busy doing. First, we met recently on April 19th, and that was a very busy evening. We spent the entire evening really looking at the LCAP. And so we were kind of tasked with looking at a lot of different LCAPs and putting together some suggestions for our LCAP that will be going out to families. And so we had a really, really successful meeting, putting our heads together and figuring out what questions we wanted, how to tweak certain questions so that we get really valuable feedback at the end of the school year moving forward into the 2018 school year. So it was an extremely successful, tiring evening, but it was very beneficial. Dr. Hall was there. It was excellent. And we started to look at the different policies that have been mentioned, the civility, enrollment, and other policies, and we are happy to see that those are still being looked at because our advisory council would like more time. We will be meeting again on May 10th, and the homework of all the advisory council members is to individually continually look at those policies, and then we're going to be coming together on that evening, and that'll be our main focus that evening, is to look at those policies as well as other things that we have in our agenda. And lastly, I have a little demonstration over here showing our latest addition to Saddleback. So our advisory council was tasked with figuring out how to spend the Academy Fund, and our board, or our advisory council, decided to spend a good portion of that on smart boards, Mimeo boards. And we actually were able to purchase 24 Mimeo boards, which will go into every single classroom for every non-core teacher, and then also for one of our Mandarin class as well. So I'm actually have a little demo set up for you, but I want to show you. This is it. So when a teacher gets their Mimeo boards, we're going to have a training coming up on how to use it. This is all it is. Yeah. So if you want to kind of take a look at that, pass it around.
Chase, can we spin the camera around so that... Are you going to be doing anything over there so that...
I will be. So I won't be talking to the mic, or is that...
I have.
So the crazy thing is, this is it. There's an infrared sensor. It's crazy that it works on this surface. The idea is to put it on a whiteboard, have this magnetically stick on a whiteboard, but if you go right here, with the touch of a button, simple calibration. That's a good sound, by the way. Is that calibrated? And out. I also wanted to have set up one of the other purchases we've approved is the xylophones for Mr. Sachs. So, here they are. These are the xylophones. We ordered 15 soprano xylophones and 5 alto xylophones, and these are going to be utilized in the younger grades. And these xylophones, you can take them apart. You can put it so only note is on there, so for your very active players, you might get one note at a time. And so these have been ordered, and they should be expected coming in any day now. So Mr. Sachs is very excited to get his hands on these. This is actually but here's kind of a video of what.
There you go.
There it goes. So we have 20 of these coming in for our younger students to get that exposure with all the notes. And I mean, for me as a teacher, that I love technology. As soon as we got these, Mr. Carlo and I were just messing around with these. This was this was something my students sent to me today. And you just throw it up on, and it's crazy that this is on a wall. It's not on a whiteboard. I mean, this is the smartboard. And lastly, I know Mr. Stripes is really big on diagramming sentences. So, what's great is these smartboards. Mr. Carlo has used them a lot in her first grade classes, so the youngest students will get use out of these all the way up to 8th grade, where, and then Mr. Stripes, you're going to have to help me out. I'm not big on, I don't know a lot about sentence diagramming. Okay, so Rudy ran the race, so Mr. Stripes, how am I going to do this?
Okay, so you're going to draw a horizontal line,
Okay.
and then draw a vertical line through it. Okay, and then you're going to come over and you're going to make another vertical line, but not through the line. There's
That. Undo. I did it, okay.
All right, go up instead of down with that.
Like that.
There you go, and Rudy goes in the first spot there. Because Rudy is our subject.
Okay.
Rudy ran, that's your verb.
Okay.
Okay, and race goes over in the direct object spot.
Okay.
And then under race, you're going to draw a diagonal line.
Oh yeah, I got that. Got that right there, right?
For your article there. Leave that guy over and you put him at about a 45 degree angle.
And let me just check my answer here. We'll see how we did. Rudy ran race the. Yeah. And this is to show you too. This was something that Mr. Carlos sent me. This is a lesson that is all geared towards this smartboard. Here's an objective that the students are going to learn about adjectives, and it is. So here, little check for understanding. You can invite students on up. They can, which are adjectives which are not adjectives. They can do this. Well, let's make that a little bit bigger. It's can move everything around. And so, in conclusion, for me, I love this. This is super exciting for me, but what I love about it is it's not for me. It's for the students. It's not for me to use. I had a really cool experience earlier this week when I was messing around with it, and we were studying surface area and nets, and we had a really fun moment where I invited a few students to just come on up and try it, and they were experimenting with the whole thing, and they were trying it out, and it didn't go the way that they planned, and they were laughing, but that's what it's all about. I'm a firm believer in nature and getting outside and separating ourselves from technology, but our kids are growing up in a futuristic world, and if we want them to be prepared in the 21st century, this is how they're going to be prepared. And so I'm very excited with this purchase that our advisory council has made possible. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Trevis. Who do we have from the South Orange County campus? Oh, technology.
Hi.
Chase, is there any way for us to spin this monitor a little bit so that the audience can see it without?
There we go.
Kids. Yeah. Move down. And your fancy chair.
Now, John, who's regretting their switch? We're ready when you are.
We can hear you.
Okay. So we have recently 2 vacancies on our board. So we just finished our election process. We had a week for people to nominate themselves, or other people nominate. That was a week, and we just had the voting last week. So we're getting the results, and we will be announcing our full board soon. As soon as we get the rest of our board all together, we'll be announcing the 2 new members to the people again.
And then in our last 2 meetings, we've really focused on the policies that we were asked to do. The civility policy, we spent upwards of 4 hours working on, and we think we've provided something that is very sound, and we hope that Saddleback will have a chance to view our review of it, and that we would get to see their review, and it would be like an open conversation between the 2 campuses before anything gets approved. So we're glad to see those tabled as well, because the enrollment and attendance we did not have a chance to dive deep into because of how long the civility policy took us. So we look forward to working on that as well. And then we will be working on the LCAP as well at our next meeting, as we were asked to focus on the policies. So we're moving on to the LCAP now.
All right.
Thank you very much, SOC. Next up, we have our reports from our honor societies. First up is the Saddleback Valley Honor Society, and we have Nicole Anaya on behalf of that.
Hello. I'll talk in, don't worry. Okay. We have been really busy. We have had a great month and a half since we last talked to you guys. I can't, it's moving.
Chase, can you adjust that for us?
So we got our Jogathon shirts in, our sweaters. So this is what our print looks like. So they're loaded in Charlie's car right now. We'll get these out ASAP. As well as shirts. Good?
Good.
It's really in here, huh? Okay, so these are not in order, but this is just basically what we're doing. Science Night was won by the Jogathon members, or Jogathon. So our school raised over $40,000, which was what our Jogathon goal was for Science Night. With that, we have an extremely fun night on the 11th. Some of the things...
Did you say 40,000?
Over 40,000, yeah. That's pretty awesome, huh? Yeah. Pretty awesome. And it was a busy week, too, so we're very thankful. We have the Mad Science people coming and joining us. We have a bubble interaction thing coming. We have a reaction assembly, a mobile observatory, a magic of science assembly, dinosaur performance and fossils. We're going to have a huge Wyland trailer out there. We're also going to have reptiles, food trucks, dessert trucks. Everything is free minus the food trucks. So this is our big gift to the kids and the families that helped us raise so much, as well as the administration. So we're hoping to see you guys and our teachers there. We're very excited. Our committee members have been excellent in getting all of the schedule. So thank you. Next, we have our Sanctimony Beach cleanup, which is on the 5th of this month, which is on Saturday. One thing that is really important to note is we are a 501c3. Part of being a 501c3 is also doing nonprofit work, not just for the benefit of our champions and our campus, but also our community. That is actually something that I did not make up. It is a requirement. And it is frowned upon when, you're giving to one organization and not focusing on the whole. So what we like to do at Honor Society is we want to encourage the champions to be part of our giving back. So our beach cleanup is one of those events that our champions and their families have been invited to come. While we're giving back to our community, we're also enriching our champions' lives and understanding that, this is this is what we need to do. Another thing that we did was Helping Hands a couple Sundays ago. Helping Hands came in. They took over the entire honor hall. We packaged, I think, roughly 10,000 meals. Yep. Mr. Shives is here. So thank you. And we had an amazing turnout. Babies to adults. I mean, everybody was helping. So it was a great event. So it is very important to note that we also give back to the community, but we want to make sure that our champions are part of that. Next thing that we are doing is a Mother's Day pop-up shop for Blackwells, which is going to be tomorrow. Our champions are encouraged to come and bring their scholastics or scholarships in and shop for their moms. There is gift wrapping available. So we have all of that set up. Let's see, Fuddruckers and Open House is coming up. We're going to do a Fuddruckers event on Open House on 5/31. That way, when you guys are done seeing this amazing, everything that the kids have done, you can head over to Fuddruckers. Next is, we have a late over scheduled. So the gala went amazing. We raised roughly about $17,000 at the gala that night. We're very proud. It was an extremely successful event. The teachers were amazing. The administration was amazing. We had a really fun time. So part of that, two groups won a late over, which would include a limo picking them up, having teachers on the limo, driving them around, then being fed in and out, and then a Sunday bar, and just doing whatever mischief the teachers can come up with, including paper toweling or toilet papering chancellor's offices and stuff. So that'll be really fun, and that's on the 18th. As was mentioned, the dunk tank is on June 1st. That was also a jogathon prize, as is the glow party. One new thing that we are doing is we are having elections for Honor Society. I have decided to open elections up for the president position as well. My position is actually a 2-year term. I was voted in September of 2017. So my position technically would not be up for another year. But upon review of our bylaws, the prior board that was in charge of our elections at that time were not complying with the bylaws that were written, which basically say that elections need to be done during a general meeting. Elections were not done in that fashion, as I'm sure everybody is aware. So in order to make it proper and right, I've decided, as well as our VP of volunteers, to and not step down, but basically make our positions available, make it fair, allow people to run if they would like to, which we did. So that concluded last night for self-nominations. Our actual Honor Society elections will be held at our next general meeting, which will be on May 21st. At that time, please come and vote, yay, nay. I do not believe that we have any duplicate entries running for the same position, so we do not need to do any kind of ballot, but we still do need to do a formal vote-in at the meeting. All right, and that concludes our events. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nicole. And from the SOC Honor Society? Oh.
Josh, you need to get close now.
We have Mrs. Lee. We're ready when you are. All right.
Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Okay, well, enough that we are narrowing in on the time for our May the 4th Be With You golf tournament. It's this Friday, so I feel like the work that's gone into it is going to be one of our best events based on the prizes that we have to auction night of. We have a Disneyland package of family 4-pack of tickets, and we have a museum package that has, I think, 9 different museums. We have Coach Barton Day, where you get to bid on being with Coach Barton for the day. There's going to be 2 of those, a younger grade and an older grade. So we have a lot for the night. I won't go through all the things, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't heard back from any board members, but if you're coming, we'd love to have you. Just let us know so we can have a seat for you when you get there. Christine Tanioka and Selena Mohammed have done an amazing job with golf ball sales and getting the kids excited. The teachers have been helping the kids sell golf balls and get them motivated with prizes. We appreciate that. We do have our board in place. We had elections for our new Honor Society board, and we have Randy Matthews, who's elected as the new Honor Society president, and Amy Hitzler will be vice president. Lexi Weber will be the secretary, and then the vice president of finance operations is Danelli Agarwal, and dean of fundraising is going to be Angela Serrano. There are a few positions that are open. If people are interested, we can. We invite you to come and express interest as parents, which we'd love to have your vote and involvement in that. I'm not sure if there's questions or if there's just confusion with the board. I'm not sure if you're looking for something that I need to give to you. It just seems like there's something going on. But anyway, the point is we are excited for the golf tournament. We have our VAPA night is coming up on May 14th. And we have May 15th, Muffins with Moms. And we hope to see you guys with the VAPA night. We're going to have, hopefully the In-N-Out truck will be here. We're going to have free ice cream sundaes with purchase of an art, anything. So come buy some art and come see all the great things that the kids have done. So that's all I have unless you have questions for me.
Nope. Thank you, Ceci. Item 4, under the presentations, reports, and correspondence, is the April 12th, 2018 letter from the Orange County Department of Education. Ms. Doherty? I stand corrected. Dr. Hall?
It happened to come to me.
Yeah.
So this is the letter confirming that we did indeed.
You don't need to be that close.
Oh, come on.
No, I
like
love that you're doing that.
Okay. So this letter confirms that we did indeed submit our interim budget for the Saddleback Valley campus to the Orange County Department of Education, and that we passed with flying colors, and that they are grateful for our enrollment staying up and our attendance rate staying at 98%. And they just ask that we continue to monitor our revenues and expenses closely and keep them informed of any significant changes in enrollment or ADA. So this is just confirmation of the work that we've done with Charter Impact.
Okay. Next up, item 5 is update to CalSTRS audit.
That is me.
Ms. Doherty.
So I've passed out a summary statement for the audit report. I also sent each of you the spreadsheets that I can't share with the public because it contains confidential information on employee information. But I wanted to go through the different pieces and parts of the audit for you. And these sheets are at the back as well to show you where we're at. We are almost complete with all of this, including the payments. And so if you take a look at the second page on the findings, you'll see that finding 1 is we're in the process of uploading it, but we have finished our part of it. Finding 2 is complete. Finding 4 is complete. Finding 5 is complete, and finding 7 is complete. Finding 3, we have another 5 days worth of work, maybe tops, to finish it. Finding 6, we have about 5 days worth of work to finish that one too. And finding 8, we just really have another couple days. So we will be complete with all of our changes and uploads and payments within the next 2 weeks to this CalSTRS issue.
Where's the secret Excel spreadsheet?
It got emailed to you.
Shortly before the meeting.
And I could not make it public because it had a lot of confidential employee information on it.
So this email that you just handed out, everybody's seen this? Has everybody seen this email?
It's on the back table.
And do we have? Chase, can you put this up so everybody can see it?
He didn't get it. So this is just an informational piece, and I wanted to bring it to your attention. This was asked to be brought back from the last meeting. And again, the spreadsheets were emailed to you. I can't share them because of the confidential information. But this tells you where we're at.
Any comments from the board?
So we don't know SBCSS.
San
We don't-
Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools.
So we don't know if they're going to assess us penalties and interest.
We have applied for a free ride on the penalties, and at this point in time, it looks like they're going to be granting part of that. We don't know how much they're going to waive and how much we're going to get. But at this point in time, these numbers represent a significant drop from the original projections, the ones that you see in front of you.
So how does this reconcile with so what's the, like, all the CalSTRS errors that we've been talking about, which were
They're-
80,000, all those, are those numbers real?
That was a conservative estimate. So
And when you say conservative, you mean we overestimated?
yes.
So when we said, hey, that's going to be $80,000 or $100,000, you're saying that this is this is an actual number?
The numbers that you have here are the exact numbers, and we still have more numbers to bring in. But the spreadsheets will show you how they're attached, and we don't get the final numbers until we upload to the county, and they send us back what the actual amounts are. So this shows you where we're at with this progress.
Ms. Doherty, this is a little hard to follow from just a totaling perspective. What's the bottom line number on this?
I don't have that bottom line number right now. I can get it for you. If you want to take a look at the 11,493 and the 16,598, and put that together with the penalties paid plus the interest to date, then you'll get the amount that we've paid so far, with all of the uploads and the waivers that we've received.
So that's 43,000. What's below that? The amount paid to CBCSS, is that on top of that total?
No, we don't know what that's going to be. Yep.
So what are these numbers under at the bottom of the first page and the top of the second page?
So that's the 43 plus 21 plus 60 plus 38?
Yes. These are the amounts that have been paid to San Bernardino to date, and then the penalties and interest. And again, we're asking for a waiver on those, and we're not sure how. We know they're going to be giving us. They're waiving some of it. We just don't know how much of the penalties and interest.
I guess it would just be helpful to see this in sort of a different format so we can understand what's been paid, how much has yet to be paid, and how much is still unknown.
I understand. I wanted to give you a progress report on this, and this is what I have to date. I can put it in a table format for next time.
Okay.
But the next report that you'll have will be complete. It'll be done.
That'd be good.
Thank
And
you.
for those of us that are more simple-minded, can we know? So we made a mistake. We didn't contribute probably what we should have contributed. That total number is this. We've already paid since the time we discovered the error, and today, I know we approved some transfers to sort of reconcile that quickly,
right,
wisely. But I don't want to walk away from this with the feeling that we did some magnificent work, other than avoiding some super nasty penalties.
We have avoided some super nasty penalties, but to date we have paid $165,341.46
that we hadn't planned on. That as of 65 or 80 days ago was unknown.
3 months ago we did not know about this.
There you go. Okay.
So can I make a request to keep it, I think, all lines? For the summary for the next meeting, for the update, Can we just go line item by line item with what that amount was, and if there are any interest fees, so it's clear we're all on the same page?
We'll have the total amount for the next meeting. It'll be complete.
Okay,
So
awesome.
that'll be easy to do.
Thank you.
Okay.
But thank you for pushing to get us this information quickly.
You're welcome. This is our progress report.
Any additional comments from the board?
No comment.
All right, that takes us into item C, communications. We start with comments from the board. We'll start at the far end of the table and work our way down. Mr. Teeple.
No comments.
Ms. Trichet.
The only thing I'm going to say is to everyone, do not forget the mission of OPA. We've been hearing a lot of rumors and things going on. It seems that the community has forgotten what the mission of OPA was. And I'm just going to read it to you so you remember. We are committed to working collaboratively. The key word here is collaboration. To develop lifelong learners in a safe and caring educational environment where students are challenged, scholarship is expected, and differences are valued. And that mission is supported by a list, but the most important ones, emphasizing how high academic standards, respect, patriotism, courtesy, providing a structured environment conducive to learning, expecting active parent participation and support of school policies and program, and among other things. I can attest, for the past couple of weeks I've been working with the board members. I can assure you that every single one of us are fulfilling this mission, and we are doing our best to really move the school forward. We know that everybody's hurting. There's a lot of hurdle that you're carrying with you, but trust me, we are moving forward, and I encourage you to really, really keep that mission in the back of your head. And if you are somehow feeling, frustrated, just remember the reason why we are all here at OPA. We are here to serve the children. And a few weeks ago when we visited Catch, which is the t-shirt I'm wearing, it's another charter school, that was one of the founders' message to all of us. We are all here to serve the children. So if you truly believe that you are here to serve children, do so. Be a role model. I know we are trying to do our best. That's it.
Ms. Campos.
I support exactly what Priscilla said. I think that the part that's most difficult at times is to see the frustration and for people not to recognize that we're all in it together. We're all part of the community together, and it's about making it better for our children. And we can't lose track of that, because that's how things get in the way of really accomplishing that goal and doing what's right for the children.
Mr. Jackson.
I would just like to thank everyone, all the parents, all the teachers, for their super support. It's been a little bit tricky some days and super tricky other days. And I really, really appreciate all the support. So it makes a huge difference. I feel like we've got a lot of good momentum going, and I hope everyone is enjoying seeing some positive changes. I know I love my board. I love my board mates. This is so awesome. It's so awesome to go anywhere with these people, and I'm the dumbest guy there. It's so great to feel the confidence of knowing that you've got 5 critical brains all pointed in the right direction, looking at the same things very, very critically. There's a great deal of peace that comes to me and should come to you to know that that's happening. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. And I'll keep it quick because we have a full agenda and a full house. If you've looked at the agenda, you see that there are a number of items before us that, if adopted by the board, I believe, are going to be very significant foundational items that put us as a school and an organization on very strong footing for the future. So tonight, I'm very excited for the school and for this organization and for what we've got before us on the agenda. And with that, I'll end the board conversation, and I will hand it over to our interim executive director, Ms. Kathleen Doherty.
Thank you. I just wanted to do a few updates. I know that in my weekly messages I talk a lot about the things that we're accomplishing, but for the SOC community, I wanted to let you know that we have 11 solid applications for the chancellor position. We have extended the deadline to May 9th. We are planning on doing interviews on May 16th. And the interview committee will be comprised of staff, parents, and admin as we move forward so that that chancellor can truly be a reflection of the goals and objectives of that school plus this community at large. So I'm excited by that and excited by the opportunities and the quality of the applicants. That's great. I wanted to give you an update on our process also for the SOC community, but this one affects all of us, and that is the notice of violation and the progress and where we're at. We had an amazing meeting with members from Capistrano Unified School District, Legal Counsel, and the Charter Division. We were able to discuss many things about what is involved with the NOV. We were able to share the documents that we have already ready to go, and we were given some direction by Capistrano on how to include those documents in our response. And so we're planning on doing a draft of our response, but we came to an agreement on exactly what they're looking for and know that we can produce those items. So the deadline for the response is May 14th. We're planning on getting a draft to them hopefully by the end of this week on just the response piece so we can take a look at it. But it was an amazing meeting, and the statement was made over and over again. They want us to be successful. They want us to move forward. They would like to see this NOV completed, and they would like to see us with our renewal application in front of them. So that's awesome news. And I did do a touchdown dance most of the afternoon after we finished that meeting, but I'm still kind of bubbly about that one. I wanted to let you know that we're going out for RFP, which is a request for proposals for our back office. Invites have been sent out to many of the organizations that are out that provide services for back office, which is business support. And we hope to have a new back office selected by the next regular meeting, which is May 24th. And that is on our agenda, and that's also part of our NOV process. And there has been some question about our legal representation, and so you see on the agenda today that the board is actually going to be taking action to consider a new legal firm as far as our litigation is concerned. But I did want you to know that we actually officially ended our relationship with Procopio, who is the firm that had represented OPA since about 2011, 2012. That was a part of the process and part of the possibly part of the solution, but certainly a part of the problem as we move forward with this. And we ended that officially on April 16th and with a letter to them requesting all of our files. So I thought that I would bring the letter forward to you so that you would have it because I know that things are being printed out there that may or may not be accurate. And as much as possible, you're aware that when I put out my messages, I try to address what's going on so that you have some factual information to be able to think about. And this one was really easy, so I made a copy of it, and it's on the back table for you as well. The last thing I wanted to share is I love being able to come to the delightful programs and the passion and the energy and the excitement that is on both of the campus is truly exciting for me. It keeps me young. But I do have to say that I was able to see the kindergarten circus, and I took pictures to take back to my grandson's kindergarten teacher to say, "Can you do this, please?" So she hates to see me coming through the door now because every time I walk in, I'm bringing something from one of the programs here. And the talent show was inspiring, the amazing talent from these little guys and some of the older kids too, and the enthusiasm. I have a passion for music. My son is a musician in Nashville, a studio musician, and I grew up with him playing drums in the house before I figured out a way to silence them. And I love seeing that same kind of enthusiasm and excitement here in all aspects. So you have a great organization, and I really am going to second what the board members have said. This is an awesome board that we have right now, and everybody is working toward what's in the best interest of our children, and I know that you are too. So thank you for keeping our children first.
All right, that takes us to item D, comments from the audience on items not on the agenda. Did we receive any comment cards?
We have two.
All right.
The first is Denise Etlinger.
Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Etlinger. I have two students at this school. I have an older student that we let stay on his junior high track where he was.
Denise, can you get a little bit closer to that? Sorry.
Sure. Really make me bright red. So I'm just here. I just wanted to have my opportunity to speak as a parent. I'm thrilled to be a part of OPA. The future of our school is important to me. Meeting the requirements set forth by our authorizers and our charter are critical. Holding accountable those who are deceitful is imperative. If as a parent we have concerns, this is our voice coming to the board meetings. This is the appropriate place to speak. Twisting the truth and using social media to personally attack people and staff at OPA is just shameful. It's just really, really shameful. I want to talk about how amazing this school is for my family. I was at the end of my rope for one of my children. In the typical public school setting, she has special needs, and I felt like she was getting lost. She was just absolutely getting lost where she was. So I heard about this school and the way the full inclusion works. My daughter used to cry about going to school and beg for me as a first grader to let her stay home. Now, she can't wait to get here. After 3 months of being at this school last year in second grade, she asked if she could keep coming back. That's pretty impressive. It was a night and day shift. Her teacher brought her in, got her comfortable in the mainstream situation, and the rest of the staff behind her supported her. And this year, they're really reaching in to get her to learn and challenge herself, and she's thriving. She's absolutely thriving at this school. It's just been amazing. My first grader, he's very social. He's active on the playground. He absolutely hates standing in front of a crowd, just like me. But he raised his hand and volunteered to be up on stage in his class performance for his grade. The opportunities provided at this school, the way the learning is tangible, the kids can touch it and feel it and move around. They're taught in so many different platforms. That is why they're thriving at this school. I have another kid. I wish I could have got him here in time. He is so bored where he is. We're waiting for that next step for him because he's just a top student and there isn't the challenge. So what I want to say is the staff at this school works with amazing dedication and tirelessly for each and every student. And the board of directors, thank you. Thank you for the changes you've been making. Thank you for the things that you're going to continue to do for this school. We need to keep it going. We need to get this school back on track and keep it going with the way that what you read is a place for all students to learn, a place for parents to be actively involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brianna Walker.
no hiding for you.
My first grade teacher's amazing. Hi, I second that completely. I have amazing stories that I could share about my kids and how they're thriving here. My name is Brianna Walker. I am an OPA parent. I have 3 kids here and 2 at home. I'm also the treasurer for Honor Society. I just wanted to spend my 3 minutes to talk a little bit about motivations. I believe that parents, we should stay informed and we should be encouraged to ask questions and express our concerns. I do think it's best, though, for others to wonder about motivations and if actions are truly being made with the best interest of OPA in mind. My motivation tonight is to address all of you and to talk about those who are currently tearing other people down, including myself, without even taking a moment to speak to me directly. As the treasurer, I would expect that if someone had a question or concern with Honor Society, that those questions and concern be addressed to Honor Society before being published on a public Facebook page. When I was voted into this position, I worked very hard to get financial procedures approved with the general membership to ensure that every single dollar spent was approved and released at a general membership meeting before it was spent. This is a significant difference from last year where money was often not discussed at meetings, leaving even some executive board members in the dark. And budgets, as an example, like hospitality, approved at $5,600, actually went over budget by over $3,200, with the majority of that just being spent on lunches and snacks and food for staff. Honor Society has done the research and have found many issues that needed to be repaired going forward this school year to make sure that the general membership had a voice in all money decisions, and instead of closed-door discussions and deals being made with people, including the former interim executive director. When facts are being ignored and narratives are being changed to fit in line with someone's personal agenda, it hurts our school. Parents who want nothing more than to support OPA are left hearing these untrue rumors and are feeling unsure if they could trust Honor Society anymore. And that directly affects every student at our school, because if we are no longer receiving income, then we can no longer support OPA and contribute to enriching our students' educational experience. I am just a mom. I'm here because of my kids. I'm standing in front of everybody because I have a 1-year-old son who's going to look amazing in OPA teal. I don't have an impressive resume to put forward, and I don't usually have the opportunity to break out a screwdriver and fix anything that's broken, but I have receipts. I have a whole lot of receipts and records, and I and the Honor Society board are here to continue pushing forward and to change how business once occurred and to focus on doing things as transparent as possible, because I believe in our school. I believe in our administration. I believe in our teachers. My first grade teacher here, my 6th grade teacher. I got a 4th grade, 6th grade, amazing teachers. I believe in all of the amazing parents and families that we have in our community and our organization. And I do believe the majority of here because we have the right motivation. That's time.
All right, takes us to E, items for information. First up, Gilbert Associates September, October, November, and December 2017 review. Dr. Lisa Hall.
I'm not going to take a lot of time to review each of these individually. I just want to remind the board that the agreement with Gilbert and Associates was signed back in March of 2017, and working with Gilbert and Associates was part of the recovery plan to ensure that we had additional information moving forward related to our finances. So this is a step on top of our regular audits. So we are finishing up our agreement with them. So by the time we finish our agreement on June 30th, we will have gone through. They're currently working on January and February. So by the time we're finished, I imagine they will have completed this fiscal year for us. So, so this was put in place as an additional step to demonstrate fiscal solvency and transparency, and all 4 of these letters indicate that there were no significant concerns.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay. Since we have no questions, and actually items 2 and 3 will be addressed under items for discussion, we're going to skip to item 4, March 2018 financial update. Andy Stern with Charter Impact.
Yes, hello.
Oh.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person this time. I was in town last week, but couldn't adjust my schedule to when the court's schedule changed. Can I just talk to the package, the financial package?
Sure.
Okay. On page 2 of the package.
That's not it. We're not looking at it yet, Andy.
You're going to race through those, Chase.
Can you? No.
It's under financial update. There it is.
Great. So, just mention some key points. Enrollment in ADA, the P2 report has been certified, and therefore the payment stream is set through the end of the year, and so revenues for LCFF should not change. There may be some slight discrepancies after year end, but those usually are rolled over into financial revenues and or payments in the following year. I wanted to draw your attention to facilities and depreciation. As part of our ongoing review, we've found that the leases at both schools expire at the end of next year. And I'll draw your attention to the fact that if you would like, and both of those leases have language in there that if the Oxford board or management wanted to continue in those spaces, you'll have to provide a Prop 39 application prior to November 1 of this year, according to the Prop 39 rules. As part of that review and part of looking at the leases that basically the assumption had been made that they'll continue on for some time, but the fact that they expire on June 30th, 19, the GAAP requires that leasehold improvements and money that's spent to improve the schools, and the biggest piece was about modulars at SOC, should be depreciated over the lease term. Those have been set, those expenditures were set at a 10-year depreciation schedule. That passed through the audit, which is where this is supposed to be cut, but those were accrued at, in the financials that we were given. They passed through the audit with Vicente, they passed through the audit with Gilbert and Associates, but we've taken a hard look at them and determined that they should be depreciated over the lease term, and therefore we are proposing an adjustment to the lease schedules or the depreciation schedules to catch up. Those depreciation catch-up doesn't have any cash impact, but it does reflect, it does result in an expenditure, but again, no cash impact. It's the largest amount is SOC, a very small amount at SB.
Mr. Stern, I'm going to interrupt really quickly and just clarify that it passed through Christy White and Associates. Gilbert and Associates has not looked at this, so I just wanted to make sure that our board doesn't.
I appreciate the correction. It was Vicente, as your auditor, passed the structure, as well as Christy White and Associates in their audit reviewed these and also passed on them.
But Andy, this is Raymond. I have a quick question about if we're accelerating the depreciation, if it was over 10 years and now it's going to be, what's the lease term? Is the lease longer than 10?
No, the lease expires at 6/30/19. It may be renewed, but that's not how GAAP is interpreted. The fact that it expires in 15 months from now means that what was expensed or purchased about 2 years ago and planned to be depreciated over 10 years, therefore only, let's say, 2 of the 10 years have been depreciated, the remaining, the remaining 8 years has to now be depreciated over 15 months.
Got it. So if we're accelerating the depreciation, how does that? You mentioned that there's expenditures. How does that work?
Well, the way depreciation works is that, and let me just make it simple. You purchase $100,000 worth of leasehold improvements. Cash goes out at $100,000, and because it has an economic life, a capital asset, a capitalized asset,
right.
that $100,000 sits on the balance sheet as fixed assets and is depreciated over a period of time, over the depreciable or economic life. In the case of a leasehold improvement, which is, and that's how a piece of equipment would work, or furniture, or some other computer equipment, or something like that. In the case of a leasehold improvement, something that's attached to the building and only has the life of the lease, because if the lease expires and you lost the right to use that facility, you would also lose the right to lose that leasehold improvement. The GAAP requires that the leasehold improvement is depreciated over the same period as the remaining period of the lease. So when those assets were originally capitalized, they should have been basically have a depreciable life which was staggered based upon not just set at 10 years each and keep adding on at 10 years each. They should have had a declining life ending at the lease term, which was 6/30/19. Did I explain that? Give a brief accounting lesson?
Yeah, no, I understand the useful life piece, but if we're accelerating the depreciation, meaning that we had booked some depreciation, but now we're going to accelerate that, I don't know.
What we've done is to, there were a couple of different scenarios to be considered, although they result in the effect of depreciation in total would be the same. We've taken a look at what would have, we looked at the beginning of this year, since the audit is complete for June 30th, 2017, we didn't think we should go back and restate anything from financials from the prior period. So instead, we looked at this and said, okay, as of July 1, 2017, in the year that we're in, if we look at all these assets and determine that as of July 1, 2017, they had a 2-year life through June 30th of 2019, what would depreciation be as of today? And then we should catch up for that amount, and then we have some amount which is more on a monthly basis going forward than it otherwise would have been, because it still had 7 or 8 years left on it.
Okay, great.
Any other questions on that?
Not on
Again,
that.
I want to draw attention, it's no cash impact, just an expense. Year-end bonuses, we've received a listing of expected year-end bonuses at both schools. That list is not finalized. I've been told that the expected amounts are to be paid in May. However, based upon our estimates, we have reflected those amounts in the forecast shown in May as expenses and cash outflow. We had, at the beginning of the year, left an old liability for bonuses last year that was unused, and therefore we've adjusted that accrual, or plan to adjust that accrual for, the expected expense. And so at SOC, the estimated bonus payments of $75,000 are compared to the current accrual on the books of $115,000, and therefore it will result in a $40,000 reduction to expense. At SV, the estimated bonus payments of $36,000 versus $105,000 accrual results in would result if those bonus payments are actual $59,000. Those accruals were established at the end of last year per the instruction of the then managing director, and we weren't instructed to apply any bonus payments to those amounts in this year, and so they remained, and now we've reconciled them. The STRS audit payment of $37,000, you've heard something about that. That's the amount that is shown. We still haven't seen a report showing exactly all the numbers, and where that report that you saw, I haven't seen. But we reflected the $37,000 that's been paid in April. We reflected in March. I mentioned at the last meeting that the $32,000 had been transferred from Chino to SOC for prior year champion those revenues. That actually transfer happened in the March month. The educator effectiveness, we talked about this about Chino Valley, which we'll talk about again in a little while. Revenues were received in the 15-16 year. They have to be spent by the end of this fiscal year, so by June 30th of 2018. We're still trying to piece all that together. Stuff was spent, or expenses were incurred in the 15-16 year, the 16-17 year, for years that we weren't, Charter Impact was not even involved, so trying to piece together all the things that are applicable to that educator effectiveness. Like a lot of things, require an awful lot of research into unkept financial records. At the time I put this together, we had assumed that we could find support for the bulk of the revenues, but not quite all. But we assumed that it was $25,000. As of today, that number is down to about $13,000, but we're not done. But for conservatism, I assumed that we might have to repay that before the end of the year, $25,000. But I'll adjust that in the next report for at least down to $13,000 and maybe less. And Prop 39.
Hey, Andy. Hey, Andy, it's Raymond. I have a quick question about that. So I feel like too often we have this repayment conversation. I feel like we get money, right? So we try hard to get the money in the bank, and then we get the money in the bank, and then for whatever reason we end up having to pay it back. And so I feel like, and maybe this is an exception, but maybe you can help me understand this, and this might be a bigger conversation, but I feel like if we can keep more of the dollars that come into OPA, we can keep those. So if whatever we need to do, we need to put a sticker on them, we need to put a Post-it note somewhere that says, hey man, you got $50,000, you better spend it on whatever we're supposed to spend it on, because then it ends up in a sneaky little line item that says repayment for, and then I get my hackle up because I wonder why we're paying stuff back. And so I'm not pointing the finger at you, but I'm saying that there ought to be a mechanism in place that says when money comes in, it's earmarked somehow, and there's a group of people, smart people, that this stays in front of them, right?
And I don't want to make excuses, but a lot of this has to do with the Chino school closing, because there's still another year for this grant, and the Chino school closed. So we actually got an invoice for the entire amount of the grant because the paperwork was not submitted for the grant, but I was able to submit paperwork for the grant to get our repayment down. So the Chino school closing has had an impact on grants that we have received that we didn't have time to spend.
But it doesn't feel like this is good.
Sorry.
It doesn't feel like this is the first time I've heard the repayment word. Maybe.
Let me explain. Mr. Jackson, let me explain. So I agree with you that repaying is not a good thing, and spending all the funding you get is certainly the motivation. You have heard this a couple of times, and I appreciate that there's frustration around it. By the way, there's frustration for us too, it's embarrassing to have to say that to you and take the brunt of that frustration. These are restricted funds. The way Charter Impact accounts for restricted funds when they're received and this educator effectiveness one is a perfect example. The funds were received almost 3 years ago. And the way we account for those funds when they come in is to put them in a liability account or deferred revenue. And we track over time those payments against that deferred revenue, but it shows up on the balance sheet as an amount that needs to be used up and is paid attention to. But the only one that has happened since we've been doing your financial management is the Prop 39 payments for SOC. So those amounts were $250,000. If you look at the if we looked at the balance sheet, you'd see a liability and a deferred revenue of $220,000 and $225,000 sitting on the balance sheet as a liability at SOC. As a reminder and as a amount owed, and there we have a note in our balance sheet reconciliation about when it's due and owed. These other ones, which is the educator effectiveness and the Prop 39 revenues for the educator effectiveness for SOC and the educator effectiveness for Chino Valley, as well as the Prop 39 for Chino Valley, all monies were received more than 2 years ago. And the typical scenario is that your auditors, again, mostly on Vicente, which is now known as CLA, made no notes in the audit about these restricted funds that were unspent, and the balance sheets that we were handed had no indication of these amounts that were still deferred revenue and unearned or unspent. So while I appreciate your comments, and I don't believe there are any others that are restricted revenues that you'll be hearing about, both of these expire soon, and the Prop 39 one happened is expiring next year. I believe, Lisa, that Dr. Hall, that the educator effectiveness actually expires at the end of this fiscal year. So there's
I'm sorry,
an additional
yes.
$13,000 that needs to be spent or have to be found prior to the end of June, which we're looking for, and we'll be reaching out to you very shortly about. But I don't believe there are any others, Mr. Jackson. But I guess as I said, I share your frustration. But I don't know how we would have known when we were handed audit reports that basically indicated that they didn't exist.
Okay. I get nervous when I hear you say words like, we got some money, but we don't know where it is and we're going to find it.
Well, that's not what that wasn't quite accurate.
Oh, okay, good.
I understand why that makes you nervous. We have, I believe that the educator effectiveness grant for SOC was about $50,000. I don't have that number in front of me, but roughly. We have identified $37,000 of expenditures which are applicable to that $50,000. What we need to find are expenditures of another $13,000, or let me just finish the thought. $13,000 that would support and be able to be provided to the CDE about proving that we spent the $50,000 and therefore eliminating the need to repay anything. If we're not able to find those expenditures, I mean, we need to go back to 3 years worth of general ledgers and 3 years worth of transactions to determine appropriate expenditures, and they include tuition reimbursement to teachers and professional development expenses for staff. If we're unable to find $13,000, then the or full amount, then the alternative is to and we can look at expenditures in this current year, which we need to go through all those expenditures with Dr. Hall and determine whether we missed some things that were maybe could have been classified as applicable because we weren't told that they were when we booked them. But if we can't find them, then we have two alternatives. One is to repay the $13,000 that we can't support, or two, we have 60 days now to determine whether there are expenditures that we could, things that we might do from a professional development standpoint, or tuition reimbursement that would qualify, that we might not otherwise have done, but that would basically be paid for by the federal government because we otherwise would have to return the funds. But we will have those conversations over the next week or two.
Okay, so two things that I'd really love to see. One is I would like to see with mathematical certainty somebody be able to say there's no more money that we're going to have to repay. So who do we need to get on the phone, or who do we need to talk to or ask about? Make sure there's no more money that we're going to have to repay. Second thing is
before you go to number two, that right now, I don't know how to give you the mathematical certainty, but right now, until we find other expenditures, there's the potential of having to repay $13,000 for SOC, and there's the potential that the next bullet item, Prop 39, of $250,000. I have not seen all of the contracts for the work that's being done at SOC about lighting and energy reduction and air conditioning. And if those amounts don't total up to $250,000, then there could be, although I expect they will, there could be some amounts reimbursed too. But I won't know that until I see the final invoice.
And we are on track to have that taken care of.
Okay, well then that's how you get reasonable certainty, but I don't know how to get mathematical certainty until we finish our research.
So can I make a
But go ahead
suggestion?
and do it.
To bring this to resolution once and for all, can we have a summary per campus, Chino in particular, of all the grants that were applied for, any kind of funding that campus was receiving, that we have any financial responsibility for, that would have to be repaid, so that we can understand clearly, line item by line item, what the potential impact is or is not. And I think a summary like that we could check boxes and line up item for item would make these discussions a lot simpler.
But I think what Andy's saying is he got a bucket of money. So when his firm took over, he got a bucket of money. And so there was a balance in there. And he's finding out when people show up and say, hey, give me my money back. He's finding out at that time.
I understand. So what I'm saying, though, is what'll make this easier is if we have a ledger that says these are the items that we might potentially occur. There has to be an item for grants, etc. That if money appears or disappears, we have a line item that's accounted for. So I think having that line item by line item checkbox will give us an idea if there's any additional exposure, and if there are buckets of money that are found or not found, we know where they're coming from or going.
Yeah, we can do that for you, but I will tell you for Chino, there are no other restricted funding grants that remain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Stern, did I hear that we will be bringing forward what Mrs. Campos requested?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So go ahead, Andy.
Sure, there was a second. I interrupted you because I didn't want to forget the first.
I got shushed. Second item is Raymond Shush.
Okay. All right. So I don't need to go through all these. I guess we'll go forward to slide 7. Let's go to slide 5. So slide 5 shows SOC revenues are projected to be almost $7.4 million, $286,000 higher than budget. We, as I mentioned, we accrued and assumed a $25,000 potential refund in the case of educator effectiveness. At the time I did this, at this point it's probably $13,000. Hopefully it'll be zero. And year-end revenues assume recognizing $225,000 of Prop 39 revenues with an offsetting amount to expenditures. No impact, therefore, no impact to annual surplus or deficit. On the following page, page 6, it shows expenses of almost 7.4 million, which are projected to be 427,000 over. That reflects two significant adjustments, neither one of which has a cash impact. The first is the additional depreciation for the remainder of the year, which was $252,000, shows up in the facilities line. The facilities line would have been favorable had we not included that adjustment. And Prop 39, which is the offsetting $225,000 of expenses that are booked as revenue and expenses at the time that they are incurred. The cash was received earlier in the year. So those expenses are higher than, the facilities line is higher than projected, as well as the depreciation line. The net on page 7 is a forecasted surplus of $17,000, less than the budget of $158,000. The whole difference is the $252,000 of depreciation. Without that adjustment, and again, non-cash, the school would have had not only a favorable surplus, but also a favorable to budget surplus. The following page, page 8, shows cash expected at roughly $1.2 million, and it assumes full payment of the $225,000 of Prop 39 funds. Okay, Saddleback Valley, page 11. Any questions on SOC? Any other questions on SOC?
Andy, one real quick question. If we didn't have to pay back the Prop 39, then we would be at the over the 20% reserve level. Is that the only thing that's?
Page 6.
I'm looking at page 8. Sorry.
Page 8. Okay, so that is not actually repayment of Prop 39 funds. So this is the way Prop 39 funds work.
Wait, let me stop you real quick. Sorry. No, I'm just trying to understand. Is that what's affecting cash here? Because I'm trying to understand if that's a cash or non-cash transaction. So what's pushing cash down below the 20% reserve?
Oh, so the 1332 was slightly below the 20% projected anyway. That was the budgeted level of 1332. The projected currently at 1173. The main reason for the difference is an assumption of in lieu funding for the school that was originally in the budget assumed to be received in June is now projected to be received in July instead.
So you're just saying it's a timing difference?
It's a timing difference.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. On Saddleback, page 11, P2 has been certified. The increase in ADA to 98.5% now is 98.9, which was above the budgeted level of 97.5. The projected revenues are $179,000 over the budget. The biggest piece was in Champion Village. We had a conservative forecast, and the amount is expected to be higher than that. On page 12, expenses are projected at this point to be, although less than last month, are projected to be slightly above plan. That's primarily due to a slight bit above on salaries, as well as on books and supplies. And books and supplies are a combination of a whole bunch of things, but there was a large amount in the beginning of the year for grade lines, and then there was I believe a significant amount for the school carnival that occurred a month or two ago. Nonetheless, on page 13, the school is projected to have a almost $500,000 surplus, which is projected to be $119,000 better than the plan. And cash on page 14 is projected to be $1.5 million at the end of the year, well above the 20% state level.
Does that have the same timing impact that SOC does?
That's one of the issues. It is one of the timing issues. However, earlier in the year, and now you're going to test my memory, I, for 3 or 4 board meetings, had an explanation of what was changing the end of the year forecast. One of those was a prior amount held, if I recall, I think it was almost $300,000 of a receivable that was held by the prior audit that was shown to be owed. However, it turned out that it wasn't owed. It was a duplicate payment or duplicate expectation, and so that adjustment was made. And there were some other adjustments as well, but I'd have to go back and find. I took those off here because it was complicated explanation, and I was going through it multiple times. But I could get that for you if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. I'm always curious to see what's happening with cash more than anything.
If you look at the board minutes, I'll get that, but if you look at the board minutes earlier in the year, around August, September, October, there's an explanation there too.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just make a note.
And he's going to test your memory, Andy.
Yeah, and he won't be the first. Okay, so then Chino Valley, page 16. Forecast assumptions, we've only forecasted through June 30th as we have the others. I want to draw attention to legal invoices. We have been estimating that the last months of the year would be about $10,000 a month. I have upped that forecast for the last 3 months, April, May, June, to $25,000 a month because of experience in the last 2 months. Have been well above the $25,000 level. The second point I wanted to draw attention to is Prop 39 fund. This that has drawn attention. Again, our accounting would have taken this as a deferred revenue. We reached out to your prior auditor. We reached out to Christy White. Nobody knew anything about the fact that this remained unspent, and it was not until we received an invoice from the CDE for the full funding that said pay it back. We realized that work had not been done, and so we went back to as far as we could find the invoices and supported a small amount of that $103,000, basically $16,000, and are awaiting a revised invoice from the CDE for say $87,000. It is reflected in the forecast and is reflected in the expected cash at the end of the year, but I'm not sure how we would have known about it. Educator effectiveness, same thing. We had assumed that the full amount of $69,000 would have been spent since it wasn't held as a liability, and it wasn't reflected in the audit. And we had assumed in the prior financial report that we might have to refund the whole $69,000, but we have been able to support about half of it, and we're expecting a revised invoice of $38,000 something. The payment is assumed in June in the forecast, so that in case it slips over, but we've assumed it so you have a worst case scenario of cash at the end of June. The $77,000 from special ed for 16-17 that we've been waiting 9 months for has finally received in March, so that's reflected. And the $3,000 credit from Chino Valley, they've confirmed that they actually in fact owe it to us. Now we're trying to figure out how we can actually get a check reissued because they say they issued one some months ago. Then the last point I wanted to make is that of those estimated bonuses, $6,000 we were told should be allocated to Chino, so we've assumed that in the month of May. Any questions? Okay.
I have a question, Andy. Based on all the information that you've been giving us and moving forward, are our budget aligned with the organization's strategic priorities? Do you feel comfortable enough as of now?
Elaborate on, make sure I'm answering what you asked.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit concerned because, like Mr. Jackson, I keep on hearing this was paid, then we have to repay, and moving forward, looking at some expenses that are coming up and still coming up. I know this is just for the past, we have up to March right now, and I'm looking at those balances. I'm a little bit concerned in the sense that, are we projecting too much, or are we, what is really the situation for us moving forward?
Are you asking about Chino, or are you asking about the other two schools?
The OPA organization overall. So for both schools.
Okay, so, well, I'm not completely sure how to answer. Our job, and we try to do the best job we can, is to project everything we know, and try to be reasonably conservative and err on the side of conservatism for everything that we know or everything we're told. For example, the bonuses, we were conservative in keeping $115,000 accrual there all year long, without really knowing what the amounts were going to be, and without a clear understanding of what they might be. But now that we have them, we think we feel that we have a reasonable guess at what they are, and therefore can reduce the accrual. There are not very many restricted funds that the OPA organization has access to. There were a couple of special programs. Prop 39 is one, educator effectiveness is another. The only other real restricted funds or funding that you get is special ed. And I don't think there's any problem with spending the full amount of the special ed funding every year. In fact, I suspect you could totally exceed that amount. But there aren't any other significant restricted funding streams that OPA is entitled to or participates in that would result in a potential refund. Almost all other funding is unrestricted in a general fund, and therefore the issue is whether we projected expenses accurately and reasonably, and we believe, it's our job to do so, and we believe that that's what we've done, so I don't believe there are any surprises that can reasonably be expected. Now, surprises are just that, they're surprises. Things happen, but hopefully this late in the year, there shouldn't be any other significant surprises. I did note that you are going to evaluate, multiple, or consider multiple and move to a different business service provider, and I would encourage whoever's here to, when you work with them, to provide as much detail and as much in advance information as you can. The STRS audit, we are only hearing about amounts as they are resolved instead of as expected amounts and anticipated amounts. And it's hard to estimate those without knowing things in advance and knowing things as they're discovered. But A close working relationship with your business service provider makes the forecast that much better.
Thank you, Andy. I'm sorry, but we need to kind of cut this short. So, board members, if you have any other questions, can you email me and I'll get them to Andy?
All right. That takes us to Part E, Subpart 2, Salary Study Update.
Just a quick update. You'll see on the agenda a little bit later that we are going to that the certificated salary schedule and stipend chart is up for approval. And the next salary study that we're going to be doing is the administrative and the classified or the non-certificated. And we hope to have information to bring back to you by the end of this month.
And item 3, compensation study for executive director and CBO. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you. So this is a requirement before we can appoint and offer a contract to any of our chief executive folks is that we do a salary study. So I've printed one out for you, and what it looks like is you'll see the executive director comps and you'll see the CBO comps. I took a look at the surrounding districts, and some of them are 20, 30 miles away, but still within the Orange County area. It was difficult to get exact comps because the charter schools that I was trying to compare to weren't necessarily forthcoming with their salaries. But I started looking at the districts of similar size or similar configuration to the best of our ability. And what you'll see here are the salary ranges based on the enrollment and the number of schools that they have within their system for districts. The CBO is done the same way. So when you take a look at the two contracts that we're bringing forward, you'll note that the compensation, and I'll walk through the compensation part when you look at approving the appointment of our executive director and CBO. But we are striving to be in the top half. We made that for our executive director. We have not reached that for our CBO. But this is an interesting position because we still rely on back office, so it's kind of a combination. However, I did want to say that this is the study that shows that we're in the ballpark for both of them.
Thank you. Any comments? All right. That moves us to F, items for consent. We have the following items: minutes from regular board meeting 3/13/18 and special board meetings 4/4/18, 4/14/18, 4/17/18, and 4/20/18. The warrant reports from March 2018 and the personnel report. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, is there a comment?
I need to share with you that we attached to the warrant report is we have had the conversation during our administrative team talks about sharing the batch headers that identify how the expenditures are broken down. So Mr. Stern included those with the warrant report for this time. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yep.
And I know we have a parent over at the South Orange County campus who was particularly interested in seeing that, and she was in the audience tonight. So I wanted to make sure that we point out that the batch headers are included so you can see the breakdown.
Perfect. Do I have a motion?
We still have a motion on the floor from Mr. Jackson.
I'm sorry. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All
Aye.
opposed?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to abstain from voting to approve the minutes from 4/17 and 4/20. I wasn't present at those meetings.
All right. Let the record show that Mr. Teeple abstained.
We have to approve that item if he doesn't approve the warrants. He either approves the warrants or he doesn't, so we have to pull the minutes out and then approve them separately.
Okay.
You want to go one at a time?
We now have to go one at a time. I understand. So first item for approval, minutes from regular board meeting 3/13/18 and special board meetings 4/4/18, 4/14/18, 4/17/18, and 4/20/18. All those in favor say aye.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
So can we just do approval of the three that he's good with, and then we all do that, And then you just do the other two that he's not okay with? and you can-
These items are all in the consent agenda. So what
Do
needs
it
to
all.
happen is we're pulling item 1 from the consent agenda.
Mhm.
You can approve the rest of the consent agenda, and then you can go back and approve those items separately.
Okay, so the motion would be to approve items 2 and 3 on the consent calendar.
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? This motion passes 5-0.
Now you can make a motion to approve the minutes from 4/17/18.
Well, those are the two that that Josh wasn't at.
He wants to abstain from that, right? But
Right.
that'll allow you to that you'll either abstain from all of them or abstain from just that one.
Well, there's two of them, right, Josh? Which ones were you not?
417 and 420.
Got it.
Okay.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve 313, 44, and 414.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes from the regular board meeting on 3/13/18 and special board meeting on 4/14/18 and 4/4/18. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? This motion passes 5-0.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve 417, the minutes from 417 and 420.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes from the special board meetings on 4/17 and 4/20/18 say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye, that's me.
There you go.
This motion passes 4-0-1.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We would like to, if possible, reinstate items 1 and 2 at the beginning of the calendar items for G, and then move the legal services to 3, and then reorder accordingly. Do we need to have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those.
We already did that.
We already did it?
You did
We
that.
reordered?
We're reordering it.
We're reordering it.
We're reordering it.
Again.
Yeah.
Again.
So you're moving it to number
1, 2, and then legal services, and then renumber accordingly. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. First item up for discussion or action is appointment of Joshua Arnold as Executive Director and approval of employment contract. After an extensive search, the Board of Directors will appoint Joshua Arnold as the Executive Director and approve his employment contract. Presented by Kathleen Doherty.
So I would like to separate this out because we're going to have to do a piece of this in another meeting as well. Then the first part is the appointment of Joshua Arnold as the Executive Director. And I'd like to ask Joshua Arnold to come forward at this time. The board did an extensive search, and they had a very intense interview session. Joshua rose to the top, and then they did a site visitation that involved community members and staff members as well. Josh has a great background, including that of a superintendent, a charter school leader, principal, assistant superintendent, and and has just a wonderful, energetic background that he brings forward, but his strengths include his enthusiasm, his organizational knowledge, and his communication skills, which are just a few. I would like Josh to speak at this point.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Executive Director Doherty and Board Chair Haney, Vice Chair Jackson. Pardon me?
Member.
Cabinet and community. My name is Josh Arnold, and I am really honored and thrilled to be here on my first night or day or long night as part of the Oxford Preparatory Academy family. I've been really fortunate over the course of my career to work in incredible organizations and communities up and down California and Massachusetts, and never have I heard about, read about, learned about, felt the kinds of things that exist here at OPA and throughout both campuses and the entire organization. From incredible parents who are willing and interested in staying long hours at board meetings, and so many staff members that are here actively a part of the school and its decision making and its daily operations, to incredible teachers that do impossible and amazing, unlimited things for students. It's really clear to me that what's going on at OPA is a core value that students can do anything. We have to task them with the utmost of expectations and provide a little bit of love along the way. And I think that OPA has well proven that those kinds of results for our young people are possible for anybody and absolutely everybody. Speaking of love, I brought some people I love with me here today. And so they're over there. My beautiful wife, Claire, is here. She's the one responsible for us moving down, or me moving down to Orange County for the past 10 years, and I've had great personal and professional experiences because of that, so thank you. I love you, honey. And I have 2 children. They're both here, and they're nervous and excited and very tired, is what they told me. And so my daughter, Isabella Juliet, is here. Isabella, you want to wave? And then my son, Anthony Othello, is here. There he is. And I thought it was really important for them to share this experience with me, and also for you to know that I really do believe in family and those kinds of relationships. That's not something that I take for granted, and I really understand that OPA is a family, and allowing me to be a part of it is something I take really, really seriously, and something that not only me but my entire family is appreciative of. So thank you. I'll leave you with the following. W.E.B. Du Bois, who graduated from Harvard University and was an amazing essayist and wrote Souls of Black Folk, used to say to first-year Harvard students through an orientation that it wasn't just enough to be at Harvard, you need to be of it. And what he was saying is that immersing yourself in the experience is how you get the most out of it for not only you but the university. That's exactly what I intend and aspire to do and be a part of. I don't plan on being at OPA. I plan on being of it, and I'm really looking forward to the future. So I'll meet you at Fuddruckers afterwards.
Prior to the approval of this item, we need to have the board understand the components of the contract which you have had and which have been online. The first is the annual salary is built on 225 positive days, and those are the days of work at an annual compensation of $210,000. He will get the regular benefits that are afforded all other certificated and all other employees of the OPA organization. He will get $1,500 toward membership in AXA and other organizations of his choice, should there be any excess money left over after AXA dues are paid. He will receive the same doctorate stipend that will be approved when we approve the certificated salary chart at that point in time, so he will participate in all those. And then it talks about other regular fees or expectations. So just to explain the 225 days, those are 225 days of work, and that is on a 12-month contract. The resolution supporting this will actually take place at the next meeting, but the board is free to approve the appointment in the contract.
You didn't mention the important part, which is he is our designated 24/7 employee.
That is correct.
And that's in the contract. Right?
It is in the contract, along with 12 days of sick leave. Should the
24/7 catch up to you? Right.
Should he get sick?
All right. So item 3G1 is recommend the Board of Directors appoint Joshua Arnold as Executive Director and approve the Executive Director contract. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the appointment of Dr. Josh Arnold.
Can I excitedly second that?
You most certainly may, Mr. Jackson. Is there any comments or discussion?
Can we ask him a question?
Next meeting.
Can you come up here and answer it, though? So we've had the benefit of getting to know you and your experiences and Catch. And some parents were able to and teachers and constituents were able to see that, and it was a magnificent experience. You shared with us, we have OPA champions, and we love them, and part of that is ignited by a feeling of success, a win. And you talked about one of your first experiences with a big win, and I'll bring you back to that moment. And for those of you poets out there, a haiku, the 575, right? Those tricky pieces. And if you wouldn't mind, can you just tell us a little bit about your first big win and how that felt?
So my haiku or my first educational experience?
Your haiku.
My haiku. Got it. During discussions with the board and getting to know everybody, they asked me if there was anything that I wanted to share with them. And so I shared with them that there was a haiku that I'm fond of and that I wrote in the 5th grade and ended up being selected, as teachers know. You select some pieces of work to showcase on the wall in a room, and I'd never had my work really showcased, and I wrote a haiku, and it was on the wall, and it was on the wall for the entire year. I couldn't believe it. And I got to look at it a lot. When your stuff's on the wall, you kind of, you hope it's in eyesight, so you don't have to turn around and look at your work. And it stuck with me. And it's been very bizarre because it's been a part of my life personally and professionally in these very weird ways. Where in my head I'm like, remember the haiku, remember the haiku. And the haiku is, and still it tries to grow. The young red rose that does not know it's winter. And when I think about what it's like to be a student in school, to have successes and challenges, wins and losses, A's and not A's, it's important that students know that, and teachers, that growth is always the next thing and always around the corner. And I've been, just like all of you, here at this board meeting for the last 2.5 hours. And I can even think about how the haiku can apply now. And it's really old, but maybe I should have it published. But, yeah, roses grow no matter what. They always will. No matter how harsh the winter, there will be a spring. The rose will bloom. I just think that that's an important thing to think about and to know and to feel in your bones.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Just very briefly, Mr. Arnold, it's great to see you here again. I just want to comment on how impressed I was by your enthusiasm and your obvious, clear passion for your profession. I unreservedly support his approval as the next executive director.
Any additional comments? The only other thing I would add is when we did get the opportunity to tour Dr. Arnold's current school and meet the young men and women that they're graduating from this school, and the testimony they gave and their parents gave to Dr. Arnold was sort of the final seal that we needed, if we needed it, that we had the right leader for this organization. The impact that he had on their lives. And in a school, when I look at our high schools, and we have really good high schools, but this high school's got 100% of their students graduating, completing their college requirements, and ready to go to universities, with 86% attending four-year universities. You were very humbled, and to think that we have somebody who is part of that success is really an incredible get, I think, for our organization. So, with that said, we're going to now vote on item 3G1 to appoint Dr. Joshua Arnold as Executive Director and approve the Executive Director and contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Dr. Arnold, we'd like to welcome you to Oxford Preparatory Academy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, Dr. Arnold officially starts July 1. But he will be with us as we interview for the chancellor, and he will be with us on other occasions as we celebrate the closing of this school year. We are scheduling the first meet and greet on May 16th, and we'll have more information for you out at that time. And the reason to schedule it then is because we also want to have him participate in the interview process for Chancellor, and we're planning on interviewing for Chancellor on May 16th as well. We're working together very closely, and I am very excited come July 1 to turn the reins over. It's hard to say.
So as Steve Jobs used to say, and one more thing, that would take us to item 2, appointment of Oswaldo Diaz as Chief Business Officer and approval of employment contract. After an extensive search, the Board of Directors will appoint Oswaldo Diaz as the Chief Business Officer and approve his employment contract. Kathleen Doherty.
Oswaldo, can you come forward, please?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Let me tell you a little bit about Osvaldo. He comes with an extensive background in school business, having served as a CBO and a CFO, which is the Chief Financial Officer, for several large schools with budgets that are 3 times as big as the budget that we're operating right now. He has also served as a consultant for charter schools who have been in need, and has had the ability to help turn around a couple of charter schools who were going down very quickly fiscally, and he, along with the other executive director, were able to turn that school around, and now they're standing on their feet. He is a perfect candidate to work with us, and one of the things that I truly liked about Mr. Diaz is, aside from all the credentials that he has in his background, is the fact that he wanted an opportunity to meet the potential executive director and make sure that they were a match before he said yes. So they've had an opportunity to work together a bit, and it's a match made in heaven, and I present to you Osvaldo Diaz. His contract has the same components, much different salary, and it is a competitive salary. But again, we're working with a back office here, but same 225 positive day contract, 12 days of sick time. Although his references say that sometimes he doesn't ever leave, so we're happy to see that. But we do know that you need to take time for yourself always. And membership in CASBO and other organizations as well.
Thank you very much, board members, staff, and community. Well, first of all, I'm glad that my contract is not a 24/7.
Almost put that in. I almost put that in there.
I'm going to be on call for sure, but I was glad of that. And no, but seriously, I really appreciate the opportunity to serve as Chief Business Officer of OPA. For me, it's a pleasure, a privilege to actually help an organization that is doing excellent in the academics and just take care of the administration. One of the things that I bring with me is the experience in fiduciary responsibilities, and what it is, it's to actually bring controls in place and make sure that everybody is the departments are rightly staffed and everybody's trained and doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think that part of the problems that OPA has been facing have been many, but this could have been prevented with good controls and good fiduciary responsibility, and that is what I'm bringing. I humbly submitted my candidacy for this position, and I'm very, very happy to accept. Thank you.
So the motion, or the matter brought before our attention, is the appointment of Oswaldo Diaz as Chief Business Officer and approval of employment contract. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
Does this mean I don't get to be treasurer anymore?
Did you notice that in the contract that he?
God.
Yeah, I put that in there for you.
The shortest term treasurer.
Any additional comments or questions?
Can I excitedly third it?
You may. I don't think it'll
Oh,
show on the
right.
record, but
Okay.
Mr. Diaz, we're very excited to have you back in the capacity, I think, when I first met you, that I was hoping that, remember meeting you and looking at your candidacy to be on the board and thinking, wow, this guy should be our CBO and not our board. He's too valuable. And so now we have that opportunity. So we have a motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Mr. Diaz, I am very excited to welcome you to OPA.
Thank you.
Mr. Diaz will join our group on May 15th. It's imperative that he participate in the budget discussions that we're in now, as well as help us develop our budget for next year and work with us in the LCAP.
And can I ask him some poetry questions?
Please don't.
Just kidding.
We still have a lot of items, Mr. Jackson. With the reordered agenda, the next item is what was originally shows up on the agenda as item 11, which is approved legal services agreement. Ms. Doherty, are you speaking as to this?
I am.
So the floor is yours.
I'm on a roll tonight. So I would like to present Connor Fletcher and Hedenkamp, Matthew Fletcher and Edmund Connor, two of the partners in this law firm, and I would like to invite them to the podium, please. And this item reflects our desire to have an additional, different legal firm working us through the litigation process that we're in right now, among other things.
So, would you?
Just would you like to give a little brief background about your company and who you are, and then I would like to allow the board to ask some specific questions.
Yes, I'm Ed Connor, here with my partner Matt Fletcher. I've been practicing law for about 43 years, and our firm has been in existence since 1994. I was with the big firms for about 20 years. I think Joseph is one of the big firms now. But I went out on my own, and we've been representing a number of different clients. Mainly we do business litigation. But I thought I would focus tonight just to explain to you that we have represented a number of school districts over the years. And each one came about because we did a good job for one school district, and the next one was referred to us by the prior. We started out back in the early 90s when the Orange County bankruptcy first hit, and the South Orange County school districts, in fact, all the school districts in the county suffered substantial losses in connection with that. We were asked to represent the North Orange County Community College District. We engaged in a beauty contest. We were a small firm. We're a small firm now. We went up against the big firms. We were chosen, and we succeeded in getting that district all of its money back that it had lost and all of its attorney's fees back. And the reason that we were able to do that is because we went after what we thought, unfortunately, was one of the real culprits, which was their law firm, their lawyers. Now, the lawyers had not done a good job in representing them and did not disclose certain conflicts of interest, and we were able to expose that. And as a result, we were the only school district, college district, to get all of its money back. After that, we were referred to the Rancho Santiago Community College District. We represented them and the San Diego Unified School District in getting land at the Tustin Marine Base. We ended up getting, I think, settlements in suing the city of Tustin for approximately $72 million. We were referred then to the Tustin Unified School District, and we represented them in their fight for several years with the city of Tustin as they tried to protect their right to build the schools that they wanted to build in the manner that they wanted to build it. We were then referred to the Irvine Unified School District, where they had received a horrendous opinion on a Court of Appeal opinion, lambasting them and excoriating them for what they had done allegedly to this poor contractor. We were brought in to replace a law firm at that point. We were able to get the case remanded, sent back to the trial court. The trial court sent it back to the board. The board, under our guidance, conducted a new responsibility hearing and decided that the contractor deserved zero, and the contractor gave up and went away. They paid the contractor nothing after getting, unfortunately, a very bad appellate opinion that would have indicated they owed him a lot of money. We would then refer to the Ocean View School District, where we have actually done quite a few cases for them in recent years, and not only for land use matters, but also in connection with representing them in going after the city and the Rainbow Environmental Services, which has a big 19-acre transfer station across from a very small little school that's 99.9% Latino. We had 3 lawsuits in connection with that. We ended up getting a settlement of about $24 million, requiring them to have to cover their entire transfer station, all their operations, pay our fees, and build a gymnasium for the students who have nothing other than to eat outside. So that brings us to the current time. I believe that we were referred to you only because of our relationship in handling some cases for the same law firm that Mr. Haney is with. Otherwise, I don't know any of you on the board, and none of you have, I think, have any prior dealings with us. And I think we only were mentioned as one of the firms that had done some work in connection with that firm, which is a big firm. So that brings us to maybe asking my partner, Matt, to talk a little bit about some of the general fraud matters that we handle on a regular basis.
Sure. And I've been practicing for almost 20 years, and we specialize in business litigation, as Ed said, and we've handled some very big fraud cases. Recently, we handled one that the other side produced 8 million pages of emails that we had to go through to reconstruct the fraud. In that case, the defendants were represented by the world's largest law firm and 2 others, because I guess the world's largest wasn't enough to go up against us. We handle breach of fiduciary duty cases, and we look at fraudulent transfer cases, and we've got the experience to be able to represent the district in this matter.
Excellent. Do we have here is the motion to approve a legal services agreement? Do I have a motion?
Can we ask questions first?
I think we have to motion, and then we can ask questions.
Can I make a motion to ask questions?
No.
Just kidding.
Not a problem.
I'll move to approve their employment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Now you may ask your question, Mr. Jackson.
So, again, we've had the benefit of sort of getting to know your firm a bit, and so very impressive, by the way. So your firm does business litigation. So, and you represent, yes, business litigation.
That's all we do. We don't do anything else. No family law. No personal injury. Simply representing general and civil corporate clients, and doing a lot of work for public agencies. We also represent the Orange County Water District and a number of other agencies. But I just wanted to focus on the school district clients that we have.
And you have an impressive school list of clientele as well.
Yes. So we've been fortunate that have done okay, and other districts would like to hire us in that regard.
And then did I hear you say that you brought actions against other law firms?
We have. Because we're a small law firm, the big law firms will never sue the other big law firms. They won't do that.
Right.
It's something about you don't kill your own. But because we are a small firm, we have been referred to a number of those cases. Basically, what we've done for the school districts, we are special litigation counsel. That's all we do. We do trial work. And we go after people who have caused a lot of harm. In those cases, in the particular case I told you about with North Orange County, the only way we got the money back was by suing the law firm. And because they have large malpractice policies, we were able to do that. And then Matt has some cases right now that involve attorney malpractice. So we are able to do it because even though we know all the big firms, and I used to work at the big firms, we don't have a problem in going against them.
Got it.
Gentlemen, thank you for hanging in this very long night. I'm glad to have you here. I presume you've undergone a preliminary conflict check?
Yes. Yeah, we did.
And no conflicts?
Correct.
And just to be absolutely clear, you have no relation, no knowledge of anyone named Sue Roach or Ed Lighton or anything like that?
Other than the conflict check we performed.
Thank you.
And you were not referred to, you never met Kathleen until recently, correct?
Never. I when I first talked to her on the phone, which was yesterday, I asked her if she was related to Dr. Doherty, who taught my kids at Santa Margarita, but she said, no, I have no relationship to that doctor.
Thank you for clarifying this.
Any additional questions? Comments? And I understand you're offering us a discounted rate off your stated rate. That sounds
Yes,
like it's got an
and it's very
enthusiastic-
painful to admit that would be, the answer is yes. So
we won't talk about it past that. Right?
It's just us. All right. The matter before the board is the approval of a legal services agreement with Connor Fletcher and Hedenkamp LLP. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking around. Yay. Stop. That brings us back on the calendar. Item 3, approve updated organization structure for Oxford Preparatory Academy. The board will review and take action on an updated organization structure for Oxford Preparatory Academy, presented by Kathleen Doherty.
So I wanted to have you take a look at the current organizational structure, which is the one on the back. And part of what I was tasked with is doing an analysis of the folks that we had in place or the positions that we have in place and re-examining the needs of the organization based on 2 schools rather than 3 schools, and also go back and take a look at what is in the best needs of the organization as far as support services are concerned. The reason that this is coming before the board for approval is because the next step to this is to start looking at the job descriptions that go with these titles and making sure all the job descriptions are up to date, and then working with the folks that we currently have in a varying number of positions and seeing what we're going to do about the placements at this point in time. So it starts with the executive director and an executive administrative assistant to the executive director. And then you'll note that there are 4 folks under the executive director, although everyone truthfully is under the executive director. We have the director of technology, the director of instructional and student, I can't see it from here, it's student support services, our human resources manager, and then the chief business officer. And the reason that these titles are important is because they supervise or provide support for the positions that are under them, which are in technology. We have the coordinator of public relations, the student information services and database technician, and the information technologies technician. So they sound similar. Those are very distinct positions and very much needed. We need a part-time human resources clerk because we have a lot of folks coming in and out of our system, and right now it's being staffed by 1 person. And then under the business officer, we have our food services person part-time, not full-time, facilities manager who oversees the lead custodians and the custodians, and then the administrative assistant and account clerk, which still does the APAR. And under the food services coordinator, we have the food services proctors that are at each site. And those numbers are approximate based on the enrollment at each school site, but that kind of shows the hierarchy of what that looks like. One of the signature positions that we are not going to have next year in this proposed chart is a managing director. Instead, that position turns into something that is very much needed, which is the Director of Instructional and Student Support Services, which includes curriculum and instruction, special education, attendance, oversight of the school sites. I put the chancellors, but oversight of the school sites and the after-school program, and it includes a part-time administrative assistant. And that becomes the organizational structure, which is considerably smaller than what we are currently operating or have been currently operating. The second part goes down to the school sites, and this is an approximation, and so that's why there is a statement on both of these that says staffing for non-instructional positions are minimum recommended, but may be revised pending the needs of the school site. The certificated staff will be based upon the enrollment numbers, which we always do, and other positions may be created on each site based upon the site LCAP goals. What this does is it turns over control of the staffing at the sites to the sites, which is where it belongs, because the programs need to be developed by the parties that are closest to the students, which are the staff and the parents at that school site. And it's also all based on enrollment. So I know that there were some concerns about, that we need more than that. One of the things that we're looking at is the basic minimal staffing, and then after the fact, taking a look to see now what do you really need, and here's your budget, and how can you make it work? Because that's that piece that's been missing, I think, from our organization for quite a while. So this is putting the decision back into the hands of those people that need to be making those decisions with oversight from the organization. Once this is approved, then we can move forward with the next piece, which is making sure that we have job descriptions. We're revisiting our job descriptions. Not all of them are up to date, and some of them are non-existent. And then looking at the actual staffing of those. So that's a process that's going to take 2 to 3 more weeks as we move forward.
All right.
Can I make a motion to approve?
You most certainly may. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, it's time for discussion. Any questions or comments from the board?
It's better than that spaghetti bowl on the last page.
Yay.
Well, I wanted you to see the difference. One of the things that we've been tasked with is to live within our means and to really have the organization represent the budget numbers that we have and serve our students. All of our decisions, and I've said this before and I'm going to continue to say this, all of our decisions need to be made on what is in the best interest of the students. And so we need to make sure that the organization is not top-heavy and that the positions that are created totally support the school sites, the chancellors, the deans, the teachers, the kids, the parents. So that's what this chart does.
Without going through and counting all the boxes, what's the change in head count?
It's probably 50% less at the upper level.
And does that correspond roughly to half, or 50% reduction in payroll?
Yeah, I know, but it definitely is. It definitely will be a reduction in payroll. But remember, the other thing we're doing is we're analyzing salaries of admin as well.
Right. Okay.
Chase, can you bring up the current org chart? We see that. Does everybody see that? What? Yeah. Thank you.
Any additional
Yeah, I know. That's why I did it separately. But
questions or
but
comments
it's
from the
still,
board?
you can see across the top.
All right, so the motion before the board at this time is to approve the updated organization structure for Oxford Preparatory Academy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? This motion passes unanimously.
So at the next meeting, I'll be bringing forward job descriptions for approval. Lots of them.
All right.
Perfecto. Next item.
All right. Item number 4 is approve a salary schedule for certificated staff, including stipend chart.
Yay!
And when I said one more thing, this was really the one more thing. Oxford staff has worked with the compensation committee to create an updated certificated salary schedule and stipend chart. The board will consider for approval with an effective date of July 1, 2018. Presented by Kathleen Doherty, but we do have a comment.
Let's have the comment first.
Suzanne Lynch.
And company.
+1.
+1.
Hello. Wow. Okay. I can do it. Oh,
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay. Hi. So this could be awkward because you haven't approved it yet, but I just really wanted to say thank you very much from the teachers for doing this. I know we haven't met because I've been on maternity leave.
Yeah.
But
I'd love to meet the little guy you care.
Yep. But just the fact that, you guys advocated for us and you came on board and within, 2 months you had a committee and everything got put together, because I know we've been asking for this for a while, and it feels like we now have this board that is listening to us and is here for us, and the parents, I know the parents really pushed for this. I know you guys got probably lots of emails about, the teachers need raises, and so to all of the stakeholders here at SOC, thank you so much for doing that for us. We really appreciate it. It feels really nice to be appreciated in this way. I know, we know you appreciate us, but this is very helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you, and hopefully you approve this, because otherwise this will be weird.
All right, no pressure, Kathleen.
All right. Well, so I have worked with a team of teachers from representing both sites, and we started with an analysis of our current conditions and found that our teachers' salaries were in the bottom half of salaries in our local area. And so what we did was we took a look at salaries the same as we did for the top positions. We took a look at salaries from the surrounding areas and took a look at the salary charts and noticed that our chart had some funny quirks to it that didn't seem to meet the needs of everyone. And we put the certificated salary schedule back into a competitive chart. First thing we did was put it into a competitive chart that met everybody's needs. And so you'll see that our chart includes preliminary, BITSA 1, BITSA 2, and BITSA is beginning teacher support system for when there's a clear credential. And then added levels of units, which are pretty standard across most districts. 45 units, 60 and masters, or 75 masters and doctorate. So we've added that in. But some of the other big ticket items that we did on this, aside from putting the salary components in here that are competitive and put us to the top half of those people in Orange County instead of the bottom half, is we added a stipend, an annual stipend for those people that have a master's degree. And we've added an annual stipend for those people that have a doctorate degree. So Dr. Arnold is going to be particularly glad to see this part because his contract says that he'll get whatever the certificated staff gets. So we really want to pass that, and you can see what that looks like. The other piece that we looked at was the work year, and noticed that these staff members at both school sites currently work 190 days, which is a higher number of days. So not only was the salary lower, but the number of days they worked was more, so that in reality the salary was the pits. And
thank you for saying that.
Sorry, but that's, and I get to say that because I'm coming in from a perspective of what are we doing here. And we dropped the number of working days down to 186, which is pretty standard across all of the districts in this area. Each of the different counties has a different average that they work, and I come from Placer County, and in Placer County they range anywhere from 182 to 185, but this area seems to be 186, so we settled on that. We also took a look at giving those that have the national certification the same stipend as the master's degree, because that's not easy to get. And again, that's not a one-time thing. It's kind of like when you have a child and you're doing your taxes. I remember when I had my child and I was doing my taxes, I was really disappointed because I really wanted to have that deduction for the following year, and I didn't get that I got it every year. So this is the same kind of thing. These stipends occur every year. We included in this chart the substitute rate so that we now know what we're going to be paying, and we have a daily rate and a half-day rate and a long-term rate so that it's not hit or miss anymore, and that we can advertise out this is what we're going to be paying our substitutes, which is also competitive in the area. And then we did a long-term rate, and we put in an hourly duty rate so that when we ask our teachers to do something extra as an extra duty, we now have an hourly rate that we can go to the chart and say, this is what you get if you do this extra duty. So this certificated salary schedule is very competitive with the outside world. It's in the top half of salaries in Orange County now. The columns align, and the other thing, we took some special care to make sure that every staff member, that when we move these around, there was the chance that some staff member may actually go down because of the way we orchestrated it. So every staff member has a raise in this one too. So we took a look at that as well. The second part was the kind of the hit or miss stipends, and brought that in line with what we can offer for stipends, and now looking at This is a solid salary schedule and a solid contract with expectations. So there are going to be certain expectations that you sign on to do as a teacher. And then there are other things that we say, we want every teacher to do these, what we call adjunct activities, because that's an expectation that you may do one of them or two of them. But the reality is some of this stuff deserves extra pay because it's over and above. It's over and above your contract, it's over and above your contract day, and it's extra prep time. So then we put together a list that is based on the number of hours and the tiers. So you can see that it goes across with a change in how these get processed, so that anybody that gets assigned to this extra duty will now have a special extra duty contract, and it'll be verified and in print so that there won't be a question about, do I get my extra duty pay or not, or how much do I get. In addition, we added a stipend for those overnight trips or those long field trips because that's extra time. And then we added some other things to that with the understanding that if your job is such that some of these are embedded in your job, you don't get the stipend pay. But if this is over and above your contract because it's not part of your embedded job, then you get the stipend pay. So I'm asking the board to approve this contract, and if approved, I will be meeting with Rachel Cernacki with each employee to review their units to make sure they get placed correctly, and to review their years of public school service. Again, to make sure they get placed correctly, and we're going to do this within the next 2 weeks so that we can do our budget projections for next year and make sure it works.
So I make a motion to approve the certificated salary schedule 2018-2019 with the corresponding certificated stipend schedule.
You didn't give anyone much of a chance to do that other than you, but does someone like to second that?
I second.
All right. Do we have any discussion?
I have a question. I'm assuming that first of all, I'm very happy for the teachers. I was a teacher, so I'm always happy to hear that we get more money. But our compensation package salary, is it in line with the IRS standard?
Yes.
Okay. And then my next question, so if there were changes to our school budget from the long-term school model, like enrollment, staffing, the revenue, etc., does this compensation put our school on a path to break even if it reaches enrollment or not?
Our certificated staffing is based on enrollment, so we always are very mindful about how we are hiring certificated staff, and usually you look at a number that's 25 to 1 or 27 to 1. I think the numbers for OPA are a little bit higher, and we had that conversation, and I don't remember, what was it, 28 to 1 was what we came up with. I think the average was what we're looking at. So when we look at a certificated staffing piece, we divide the number of students by that number to determine how many certificated staff we need.
Fine with me. Good.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Well, I mean, to address that, I feel like what part of this is our commitment to find and make the money available, right? So we've got priorities, and we look to the teachers and we say, CASP testing, results, incredible academic achievement, and they deliver that. And so I think we're all in agreement that, you know, we need to find the money, we need to make the money happen, we need to stop giving money back, so we've got money available to...
Which is the reason why I asked that question, because somebody from outside who don't know the history will be like, oh, really? Look at... That's why I asked.
In 2 weeks, that'll be Oswaldo's job.
And I'm looking forward to turning this over to him, too.
So, to second you, Raymond, I'm very happy for the teachers, honestly.
Mrs. Lynch, that's a dirty trick bringing a baby up here.
Yeah, wow.
That's dirty.
It's actually a pillow.
That'll be our next goal.
I think that there are members on this board and people that were not yet members that have been saying for a long time that your compensation, to the best of our ability as a board, should match the excellence you deliver in the classroom. And so we thank you. I thank you. Maybe I'm speaking for the whole board, but I certainly thank you for trusting us and giving us the opportunity to work on this. And to everybody that volunteered and worked on the committee, I know that was a lot of effort on your part, and probably at times you wanted to run and tell your coworkers what was going on, and you kept it quiet because that did not leak out anywhere. So I sincerely thank you for that. I'm super excited to put this up to a vote. So without any further questions, all those in favor of adopting the new salary schedule say aye.
Yay.
All those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. And we're just getting started. Item number 5. Approved contract between Oxford Preparatory Academy and Bertelli Public Affairs. The board will consider entering into a contract with Bertelli Public Affairs, an education public affairs consultancy for short-term communications / publicist services, presented by Kathleen Doherty. Kathleen Doherty.
See, I've been busy.
You have been. I'm just emceeing this.
Yeah.
Your show.
So this contract was brought before the board at the prior meeting and was asked to be brought back because the scope of work wasn't defined. This is a short-term contract. This is very much a needed position right now. And that's why it's a short-term contract until June, and the board can decide after that if they want to continue it. It's a PR contract to help address some of the communications that are out there that are inaccurate or false, and to help bring us back and on track with the kind of communication that we want out in the community, not just for the weekly communication updates that you get, but also for some of the internal communications that we might inadvertently be sending the wrong message out at times. And this is a very needed position right this second. I don't know that it's always going to be that way. Your new executive director actually has a great background in this, but for the work that I'm being asked to do right now, this is a needed position because my energies need to be focused on our NOV and getting the documents necessary for the recovery process that we're in with our fiscal side, and just to bring us up to date with our policies and procedures, job descriptions, etc. So I ask the board to please approve this contract. I just want to also have a couple of comments about how this came to be. When we started getting a lot of negative press, I contacted our legal counsel and said, help. And at that point in time, I was given 4 different company names to research. This was one of the companies that I researched. This company has a good track record and has gotten into some very sticky issues and has helped the organizations with the optics and the messages that they're sending out. But I have not worked with this company except that the past month I've been working with them. So if you've been enjoying your messages, it's because I've had some assistance. I would like to say that those are all my own total creative ideas. The concepts are mine, but some of the wording has been edited for me. But this is the kind of thing that I need help in to make sure that our community is getting the right message. So I'm asking the board to approve this short-term contract.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the contract between Oxford Preparatory Academy and I can't read it. And Bertelli Public Affairs.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion?
I have some comments. First, it's a shame that we have to spend money on this. That's my overall comment. Second,
hey Josh, can I get to your microphone a little closer?
Sorry. Have we asked them to revise their contract to remove the indemnification clause?
To remove what?
The indemnification clause.
I haven't. I can.
I'd prefer to sign it without that clause.
So can we Motion to approve, subject to the removal of. Can we do that?
I have.
Mary's going to do it.
No. I have another question.
Oh yeah, go.
So, I agree with Josh on, I think it's a shame. And as the board, we need to be fiscally conscious on items we're spending on. So, I would like to suggest that we look for the removal of the clause as Josh mentioned. And in addition, we do this on a 30-day basis versus a 90-day basis till the end of June. My thought there is that having Josh come on board at least for a couple days to assess where we're at, and the need for continued support on a monthly basis will go down. I would also suggest that we could perhaps have a couple board members contribute to that on a committee basis to help with the writing of it to save some of the cost.
Well, I think just to add a little color to this, I think this particular group has given us a great deal. So whatever their monthly rate is, this is a considerable discount from the monthly rate. And so I think they're part of like a bigger, higher profile PR agency. And so they're giving us a short-term contract and a reduced rate because it's just sort of a SWAT team kind of thing. We've got a lot of good news to spread, and Joshua and our CBO and that sort of stuff. And so I don't deny that we can certainly, as board members, contribute to that. But maybe to have a professional look at that whole, you got all this good news to share. How do we organize that? Maybe giving us some suggestions might be beneficial.
So I would agree with that. So that's exactly what I'm suggesting. So taking some of the work in-house and using them as more of a consultant basis to review things, and doing it on a month-by-month basis so that we're using them effectively and we're mindful of the cost.
And I don't. And Kathleen, you tell me, is there going to be enough meat left on the bone for them? If I'm a full service agency and you say you keep cutting this thing back and back and back, you took me from my normal contract length down to 90 days, you took me from my normal rate down to this, and then you say to me, hey, actually now I only want you to do this. At some point they say, you know what, you just do your best.
Yeah, we would not get this contract. The minimum that I could get him down to was the 90-day contract or the 3 months. And at this rate, we could probably pay a higher rate and get as a month by month. But he tends to go for a 6-month time or a 9-month time, and I think if I went back to him and said, okay, now I just want you for one more month for May, then because he's been operational with me already, and please understand that I did have the direction from the board prior to this to enter into an agreement with him. So it would be awkward now to not. However, I work at the board's discretion. So, and the contracts are at the board's discretion. I don't think that he would be willing to do a monthly rate. I think that he would say, we're done. And I really need to share with you, I need his services right now.
Jerry, one of the things that the board had its hand slapped for in the past was managing and not governing. What is the propriety of the board having a committee that did communications work? Do we start diving into the realm of managing then and cease to be governing?
So certainly the board has as its discretion to establish committees as you see fit. I think the question is only the purpose of the committee and the scope of its work, right? So it's your role to provide oversight as a board to management. And so if the scope of the committee's work is to provide oversight and ensure, that funds are spent, appropriately and conservatively, those kinds of things are appropriate. I also think certainly board members have a perspective to bring to the table in terms of the image they want with regard to this particular topic. But also in terms of the needs of the organization, it seems to me that that you have an opportunity before you to have a professional who has worked with other charter schools doing similar work, crisis communications work and things like that. And so, you know, I think management right now is trying desperately to manage a lot of important work for you. And I know is stretched thin relative to accomplishing all of the many things that are on its plate right now. So I think that's what you're hearing from Kathleen, and I can certainly support that she's in touch with me at all hours of the day and night, 7 days a week, with questions and needs for support. So I think I think you know, that's the reality of the circumstance at the moment.
Well, I would just say that let's not lose sight of the fact that you guys are working really, really hard, and we acknowledge that. And I think when you look at an agenda like this, you guys didn't start working on this morning or yesterday, right? There's hundreds and 1,000 or more hours that went into just this, just the results we're voting on today. But part of, I think, of what our responsibility is to give you the resources to be successful. And so when we're pushing you to a point where you're saying, hey, man, I need help. Hey, you know, board team, we need some help here, and these are the people that we need. Balancing that with, you know, we've got this NOV. This is, I don't know how much more of a jugular issue. We can't get it wrong. We don't get a redo. We don't get, well, we'll try again next month. Can we pretty please, you know, think about that again? And so I think that's where I'm feeling like we need the 18 now. Is it more money? Do I want to have to spend this money? I don't want to have to spend this money. I don't want to have to be answering these, you know, inquiries. I don't want to have to deal with a situation where people are questioning the credibility of our testing, right? But somehow or another, we need to give our folks, our team, the help that they need. So I feel like they're kind of asking for that. And I hear you, Kathleen, when you say you need help, and I appreciate you being honest with us when you're at your limit and you need help. Thanks for that. So that's where I feel like it's justified.
I understand, and I am for it because I've worked in school district before, and I know they have a special department that handles communication and crisis and all that, and it's very important, especially considering, like you said, the amount of negativity that are out there, and it's hard to. I think it's very important to bring back the organization to positivity, and unfortunately, we have to spend money for that. But I think it's some money. Out of all the expenses I've seen so far about OPA, I think that's one that I would be comfortable with.
I think I'm in agreement with you as well, Priscilla. I wish we didn't have to spend this money. It's unfortunate that we have sources of disinformation out there that are attacking the credibility of our teachers and their test results, that are, you know, questioning everything that this organization does. And unfortunately, the fact is that does exist. And, you know, the only way that we're going to counter that information is to have a professional plan of attack of getting more correct information out there. And I think we've tasked Kathleen, I know, based on the phone calls and text messages and when they start and when they end, at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, that she does not, we've probably burned that candle at both ends. So to be able to take the communications portion, and then maybe what we do is, like Jerry said, could form a committee to work with the public affairs person to make sure that the message that's getting out is the organization's message.
Agreed.
Any further comment, questions, discussion?
So, Josh, you would be okay if he removes what you asked to be removed to move forward with that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And that I can
I'll work with him on that. I know that he would be agreeable to that.
Okay. So the motion before the board, any further questions? Okay, the motion before the board is to approve a contract between Oxford Preparatory Academy and Bertelli Public Affairs. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? This motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Paul. I very much appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
Item 6, approved contract between Oxford Preparatory Academy and Charter Tech. The Board of Directors is committed to safeguarding the organization's historical data and information technology infrastructure. The board will consider entering into a short-term contract with Charter Tech for data recovery, including communications and infrastructure refinement / security, ensuring safe and compliant information technology services. Presented by Kathleen Doherty.
So part of what has transpired over the last month or so is the establishment of a lot of documents and files that are not protected and or are in certain laptops, certain computers, certain scenarios where they need to be moved, and we need to recover files as a part of the NOV process and as a part of the ongoing process for our money recovery. And this firm has the ability to do that and also to shore up our IT system, which is in need of repair. It was developed back in 2011, 2012, although I understand that the system that's in place here at SV is relatively new and is far superior to the one that is over at SOC right now. But because this organization has gone through multiple tech folks, whether they were independent contractors or whether they were employed here, this firm is going to organize our system to safeguard our data files, to put them in a safe place, to provide some transparency to how things get done, and to do data recovery, which we're in the process of doing right this second, and then the ability to scan all of those files to find the documents that we need. And there are thousands and thousands of files that we need to go through, and we have a very short time period to do that. So I am asking for approval of Charter Tech Services, who's actually already started, and it has been incredible in the week and a half that he's been on the job, to provide services for just a short period of time until we can get this taken care of.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I second.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Me again. The ninth term where they're limiting damages, I don't like that term.
We'll take it
Three
out.
previous months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm fine with it.
Do the damages go both ways?
No, it's unidirectional, I think, the way it's written anyway.
Where is that?
Number 9, page 203. So I just wanted to draw everybody's attention. Basically, it's $100 an hour, and for an organization that provides the sort of services that they do, that's a pretty singing deal.
Yes. I have this innate ability to beg, and I have this firm I have worked with before down in San Diego. They're based down in San Diego, but they work all over the state of California, and I'm familiar with their services. So I was able to negotiate a very short-term good deal for us.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. The motion before the board is to approve a contract between Oxford Preparatory Academy and Charter Tech.
Mr. Chairman, is the motion to approve it subject to the revision to the term 9? Because I think
that is
we
correct.
didn't get the motion correct on the last one.
That is correct. So
I'm
we
sorry,
need
I'm
to
getting
change it.
tired. So
That's all right. I am too. So the motion is, well, I guess, Raymond, you have to withdraw your motion.
I do.
Okay.
I would
Or
revise my motion.
Okay. How would you like to revise or amend it?
I said revise my emotion.
Oh. We don't do that.
I want to revise my motion to approve the contract with the Awesome Charter Tech Services, which specializes in data recovery, by the way, with the revision of item number 9 from the terms of service on page 2.
Okay. Do I have a second to approve the contract between Oxford Preparatory Academy and Charter Tech, subject to revision of the damages limitation?
I second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? This motion passes unanimously.
And then can I just ask a question? So, Jennifer, did you record that previous as the Bertelli was...
I recorded it the way you discussed it, with the understanding that it would be the removal of the indemnification clause.
Got it. Did you copy that, Josh?
Got it. Thank you.
Item 7, approve proposal for before and after school programs to replace Oxford Prep's Champion Village program on both school sites. The board will consider 3 proposals for before and after school childcare to replace Oxford's current Champion Village program. If approved, the new before and after school program will be slated to begin as licensing is completed for both campuses. Presented by Dr. Lisa Hall.
We're going to give Kathleen a little break. Behind the tab in your notebook and included in the shared folder that you received prior to the weekend, you have 3 different proposals. So you have a proposal from an organization called Think Together. They primarily run programs that are called ACEs, and those are programs for low-income students. So Think Together does not have a lot of paid programs, but when we reached out to them, they were very, very excited to speak with us and visit our campuses. They were most excited about our multiple intelligences approach to instruction and looked forward to collaborating with us to build that into the program that they will essentially tailor to our needs. They are the one group within the 3 proposals you have in front of you that has agreed to honor our employees.
The 50% discount?
No, actually, our employees will not have to pay.
Oh, yay.
So currently, our employees do not have to pay to take their children to Champion Village, and so they will honor whatever we currently have in place. So the Champions, which is the second proposal in the packet that you have in hard copy, Champions is part of KinderCare, the chain of child care facilities, and their proposal is lovely, and they too were very excited to work with us. Their program is much more their program. So they come in and implement their program on our site. So they were very excited when they visited our 2 campuses as well, because our chancellors and deans were amazingly gracious and gave them the grand tours. So with that, they have offered a 50% discount for employees who would like to take their children to the before and after school program. And the last proposal that you have is the YMCA. At the South Orange County campus, the YMCA had been operating at that campus, so they actually have kept the license for that campus during the time that we've been providing Champion Village. So they've paid $1,000 a year for the license for that campus. They're offering a 25% discount for our employees, and they are willing to work with us on programming. So those are the 3 proposals. Can I answer any questions?
Would the first 2 pay for their licensing on our campus, or
all 3 would pay
Okay.
for licensing. So They would be responsible for the licensing, and they would start a summer program. The licensing for summer programs is a lot less stringent, so they could start a summer program as soon as we engaged in the contract. They are willing to hire our employees. All three of the organizations that you have proposals from are willing to hire our employees and pay the rate, at least the rate that they're currently being paid. So I didn't mention that.
Did we put these documents through the advisory councils or any other group other than us? Okay. And it seems like the first one is the one that gives the teachers 100%.
That is the one that covers our employees and them being able to take their children to the before and after school program without having to pay, which is a current bonus.
Got it. And to follow on with Josh's commentary earlier, I love like a matrix that says, here's this one, here's the benefit to teachers or the impact, here's the cost. This one's a little more expensive, but they do better homework program, for example. So maybe when I pick my kid up at 6 o'clock, all the homework is done. And versus another one, they're just tired from kickball, and I got to do homework. And so that's a different kind of thing. You know what I mean? So maybe to create a little bit of a matrix so that we can look at these more thoroughly, because I just feel like
we
I'm
have
not
a bit of a time constraint, and I'm
Understood.
sorry to. So we can certainly do that. My recommendation is to move forward with Think Together, because if you notice, Think Together's
That's the second one?
contract- No, that's the first one.
Okay.
It is the most. It's the most customized. It's the most malleable. Thank you. It's the one that will allow us to work closely with them to ensure that they're upholding our antecedents of excellence within their program, and they'll essentially do what we ask.
And what's the length of the contract?
1 year, it looks like.
It would be for a year, but we can cancel 60 days.
I guess I'm a little confused by the agenda item, because it says that we're supposed to approve a proposal, one of these three proposals, and two of them look like proposals and one of them look like a contract. So I'm.
Yeah.
I mean, is it really? I mean, is the agenda item more like, disregard these two proposals? We have one contract. Do we approve this contract because of the time constraint?
The first one's a contract.
The first one is written as a contract. Again, the Think Together program, they don't do a lot of pay programs. We're only the second pay program that they would be doing.
It's a 60-day. It's a 60-day cancellation period.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's not that huge. It does have the indemnification clause, which I don't like. Well, it is mutual in this case, but the way that the second paragraph, the indemnification clause, is written is a little strange. So I think Jerry needs to look at that a little closer. But otherwise, I'm fine with that one.
I would be hesitant to end up with an option where all of a sudden the pay raise that we gave 30 minutes ago disappears into childcare.
Well,
Now,
the truth is, with this one, if we need 60 days to cancel, we could see how the first, half of the summer goes when we get out, and then if it's not working, you have the right to switch for the fall, right? There's other options.
Yeah, I guess that was my point.
Right.
If you only have to give them 2 months' notice, then if they're a disaster, then worst case, we fire them that day and we pay them 2 months.
Right.
Words.
So while they don't have a lot of experience with paid programs, they have a great deal of experience with before and after school care programs. One of our school psychologists worked in one of their programs and was actually a manager for one of their programs, and couldn't speak highly enough of the level of
Is this Mrs. Crow?
engagement. No, she's a school counselor, school psychologist, Natalie Cerna Bates at the South Orange County campus. We stole her from Think Together and the ACES program. So,
And let me just kind of chime in about the ACES program. The ACES program is a subsidiary of a state-adopted program, and so there are lots of checks and balances in that one, and lots of requirements that this particular organization has to go through to meet the requirements of before and after school programs for the state. This is an excellent program. Probably one of the best, and particularly in view of the fact that they'll work with us so that we can embed our character traits and our standards into their program. And I like the monitoring that takes place from levels other than us. So we'll be monitoring, but other levels will be monitoring it as well. They can't get their qualifications unless they jump through hoops.
And where does it say that the teachers are free?
it says that they will honor what is currently in place. And so under compensation on page 2, contractor will charge fees to participating families for the above described services that will be equal to the amounts currently charged for similar services by the Academy. Think Together will honor any and all discounts currently afforded to participant families, including Academy employees or sliding scale beneficiaries.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that I have to have a kid in there already and then that person will be,
No.
It means a new person. Okay.
So
I just want to make sure that's cool.
I reached out and said, this is what our employees currently get. Can you match that? And he said, absolutely.
There you go.
So
Match free.
to
There you go.
speak a little bit to Mr. Teeple's comment about the proposals versus the contract, again, this is an organization that's not really used to doing proposals, whereas you're dealing with two other organizations that absolutely are used to doing proposals because they are bigger businesses, whereas this is a nonprofit organization.
Typically run by your counties, actually.
Got it.
So, I took that in.
My only concern for this company, I don't like to see when companies are saying, or after school companies saying, we will, whatever that clause says, charge fees to participating family, pretty much similar to what you already, until I have an actual writing. Like, I need to see the numbers in front of me so I can really compare to what they are offering, because they can't easily say, well, that's not what we agreed upon, and we don't have anything really to back it up. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I've had bad experience with that, and I would hate for a family to have to go through that. So it's very important that we also get, like, in writing from them, this is how much it's going to cost you, like if you drop your kid before this time or whatever, so parents are not surprised after.
Oh, yeah, when Mr. Trebus brings them over there because you're... That's it. Got to know.
So the word on the street is we are going to have a special board meeting next week. Surprise. And so would it be better for us to bring this back next week with
I'm sorry.
some exacting language on that?
I agree with that.
All right. So, Raymond,
Can we specifically, I'm sorry to interrupt
Go on,
you.
please.
Can we specifically have how much per child it's going to be in there, like a complete rate schedule?
We can give the scale, yes.
That would be awesome.
They didn't have access to our scale because our scale is kind of interesting.
Okay.
And tighten
Well,
down
if we
the
could resolve
mutual
that, that would be great.
indemnification clause too, please.
Pardon me?
Tighten down the mutual indemnification clause too, please.
There's reciprocal indemnities, but the scope of the indemnities are not equal. All right. So Raymond, did you motion?
No, there was no motion.
There was no motion. Okay.
There was no motion.
So do I have a motion to table it?
I will move to table this to the next special board meeting.
I second.
All right. So done. We skip down to item 10. Accept donation of funds from Pacific Life Foundation under the 3 T's of Education grant. The Pacific Life Foundation offers educator grant dollars to schools who have been nominated by a Pacific Life employee and with students enrolled in the school. The 3 T's of Education grant covers training, textbooks, and technology. The foundation awarded OPA Saddleback Valley $3,000 and OPA South Orange County $5,500. The board is asked to accept the donation from the Pacific Life Foundation, presented by Dr. Lisa Hall.
Congratulations to our 2 schools who have parents who work for, I'm sorry, I lost my place.
Pacific Life.
Pacific Life, yes. So they have parents who work for Pacific Life whose children attend our schools, and they submitted the application. There was a requirement on the part of the school site administrators to complete a second part of the grant application. So both of our schools were recipients. So congratulations to Saddleback Valley for their $3,000 grant, and congratulations to South Orange County for their $5,500 grant. It is based on enrollment, so I hope you'll allow them to accept this money that we will make sure we spend.
And just let me share with you, the reason this is on the agenda is because technically the board should accept any donations so that we have that record of accepting a donation and where it gets put and how it gets spent.
Do I have a motion to approve the acceptance of these donations?
I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Do I have any comments or questions from the board?
No.
Nope.
All those in favor of accepting these very generous donations say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? This motion passes unanimously. It is presently, I know, it is presently 10:24. We are adjourning to return to closed session. For the brave souls that are here, we will see you when we return. Mr. Bridges is going to be here. He looks excited. I mean, Sir Bridges. All night. All right, I'm calling return from closed session and reconvene open session at 11:26 p.m. The board took 2 actions during closed session. The first action taken by the board was to replace our existing legal counsel with the legal counsel. We approved the legal services agreement tonight.
For litigator.
For litigation services.
Okay.
That's what litigation services. Okay. That motion was approved by Member Haney, Member Jackson, Member Trichet, Member Campos, and Member Teeple. The second action taken by the board in closed session was to approve an addendum to the litigation funding agreement from CCSA to cover the additional costs of our appeal of the matter involving CVUSD. That matter was approved unanimously by Member Haney, Member Jackson, Member Campos, Member Trichet, and Member Teeple.
And?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, well, you didn't even tell me to put that out. We are also scheduling a special meeting for Tuesday at
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock at
SOC.
SOC. Is there anything else you want to throw in?
No, that's
You're good? All right. With that said, do I have a motion at this time?
May I make a motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Teeple's out the door, and I'm adjourning this meeting at 11.